Brought to you by the Heat Ratio Sports Network. This show brings the temperature of sports to a whole new level. Whether it's a local opinion or a national agenda, everything is fair game. Remember, everyone has an opinion, but only few can back it up. Now sit back, crank up the volume, and if you think you can handle it, get ready for the heat.
To be here in 2021 and you know, and until something else happens, but that's the confidence I have in my ability, and you know, that's how I'm going to approach these next few days and really 2021.
Yeah. And with that, welcome in everybody. Heat Ratio Live, episode 145. We have so much to talk about. Tony Jigsaw Cotillo, Mikey Googs is back, Coach Dave Dixon, Pittsburgh John Coker, who absolutely took the Steelers jersey off because Ben Roethlisberger just laid an egg on national television. But we'll get back to that later because we have our own egg bashers in our own neck of the woods, okay? But we have so much to talk about. This is going to be just an Eagles show. I already know. I mean, I'm already pissed off about, you know, Ben taking a car, Ben Simmons breaking quarantine. Again, you know, that's a whole show. I'll get into it another time. But we start this show off all the time. We start the things happen. And I'm a very eccentric individual, and things happen to me every single day, and I write them down. I literally say to myself as a mental note, I need to talk about this. And I need to ask you guys something. A lot of people always like to say that, you know, the Burger King show that we did, and it was only the beginning, okay, but it was organic. And when you think about it, it brought a lot of more people into the conversation. And I want to talk tonight about my run-ins with the lunch meat counter. And I just have to ask, like, you know, and I think you've all been there, right? You're sitting in line. So we go to BJ's the other day, not the good BJ's, the wholesale spot, but we go there, and it's already packed, right? So I'm like, I'm going to take a number. So you already get the weird, the stink eye because there's like 15 people standing there. God forbid you walk up and grab a number. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. So you grab a number. Then you got the woman that's on her phone. She's not paying attention when they call her number. Hey, 65, and they're at like 69, and she completely missed her number, right? But anyway, you ever see those people? And I get my number. I'm number 65. Now, number 63 is up there. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to start hunting out what I want to buy. What's on sale, what meat I want. So I take a couple steps up. The guy next to me takes a couple more steps up. I'm like, yo, cuz, I'm just looking at the lunch meat count. I'm not trying to butt in front of you. We have numbers. There's tickets for a reason. Like, what? Like, they always act like you want to get in front of them. And then they have yellow tape everywhere that says, you know, social distancing. So dude's got to get right up to the counter, like screaming at the top of their lungs, like how they want their lunch meat cut. It's just like, it just bothers me. And the other thing that bothers me is, how do people know the size of the slice? Like, really? Have you, like, really orchestrated that before you went? Can I get a 7/8 inch of a cut on the cheese, please?
You're saying that somebody actually asked that question?
Yes. Like, I had all these issues at the lunch meat counter.
On American cheese?
American cheese, not even Cooper Sharp. 7/8 of an inch. What is that? I don't understand.
It's beautiful. That's a connoisseur of lunch meat because they know how to order it to their exact liking.
Exactly.
7/8 or whatever measurement you said.
Well,
I think John's right. I don't have a problem with that. If the guy's going in, then obviously he's a very peculiar person. You know what I mean? But did you start talking smack to him before or after he tried to order? Like, where did you start talking to him, or as he was moving up?
Well, because
tell us more about that.
Well, here's the thing. I sensed it. I sensed that he thought he was getting, like, I was butting ahead of him. Like, we're sitting we're sitting in a lunch meat counter at BJ's. I'm not in an amusement park trying to cut in front of line. Like, I'm just sitting here. I want to look at the prices. And he's looking at me, and I say, yo, man, relax. I said, I just want to look at the price. Oh, we got numbers. I know we got numbers. You see my number? I'm not going in front of you, dude. Like, and then when they call his number, he's like the kid in the background, like, Mrs. Brown calling me. Like, he's hurrying up to the counter, like, relax.
I got to side of John on this one. The guy's peculiar. He wanted to get his lunch meat. He wanted to get out. I mean, there's plenty of other things that happen when you're in line. Like, you're in Florida, Wegmans is a free for all. Yeah, now I'm in Florida, but Wegmans is a free for all. My wife used to tell me all the time, when you go up to the lunch meat counter, be careful. It was like a war zone, and this is pre-COVID.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is pre-COVID. Everybody's sitting there. They're jockeying for position. They call the number out once, and you notice they'll call it out again, but they call the number out like really quiet the next time. It's almost like they want to skip over the number. Did you ever notice that? Because if there's any beef that I have with the lunch meat counter, it's that. It's like 22, and then they look around and nobody answers, and some douchebag's on his phone. He's not paying attention, which is usually me. And then she goes again. She goes, 22? And then all of a sudden it's 23, and then 22 comes running back because he just realizes he has his face in his phone. Tons of those things. Those things used to happen all the time. I mean, not since I'm down here, because lunch meat down here just blows. But back up. Is
it called lunch meat in Florida, or is
no? They don't know what it is, man. We can have a whole conversation about that. But like you go to order, like they got a place down here called Publix, and it's like it's like the Wegmans or the ShopRite or everything else. And Publix is really good. They got a lot of really good stuff, but they don't. There's just some things that are different in a supermarket down here as compared to back in Philly. So. They just don't know, right? So American cheese is like this blocky cardboard shit. It's like orange. It's disgusting. And it's nothing against Publix. I love Publix. It's just I don't think they put any type of real value into the quality of lunch meat that's down here.
So my New York friends call it cold cuts. And for the longest time, I'm like, he's like, I'm going to go this weekend and get some cold cuts, and we're going to make some. I'm like, cold cuts? What the hell are cold cuts?
Yeah, growing up, that's what it was like. That's what my grandmother used to say, like when I was real young.
She called it cold cuts too?
Cold cuts, yeah.
It's funny because there would be some delis in South Philly that would have the sign cold cuts, right? Yeah. And they would have the sign directly on the deli. And even when I was a kid, it never really resonated on what that meant. I never even thought. I was just thinking maybe it was like a place to buy chicken cutlets, or it's the only time we ever used the word cutlet or cold, or I don't know why I made that weird association, but I've never called them cold cuts. See, that's a violation, actually.
Yeah. I never have issues at the deli counter. When I go to BJ's, look, you know me and my organization, so I got my list separated with the first section of stuff. Dude, the minute I walk in the door, I beeline right to the deli counter.
You're one of those dudes.
Get my number. I know the half of
You're that guy
here. Yep. I look, dude, if I'm like two numbers away, I know I could go an hour and a half right around. If I'm 4 numbers away, I might be able to get that whole section, get my lunch meat, bang, bang, dude, 25 minutes.
John, you know what that is? That's a violation. That's a violation. That's like parking
John's a dude
and getting
knocking over the Wheaties display on his way to get to the lunch meat counter.
Hurrying
up down the aisle.
No, once I get there, I'm chill. I'm happy. I just picked up 7 things that were on my list while these fools are.
No, he's using his time the right way. Yeah. Are you the kind of guy, John, that gets gas at Wawa? Do you park your car and go in and get your coffee and your shit and then come back out?
Yo,
that dude, he's got to get beat with nickels.
I used to do that. I used to do that until my wife was like, "You can't do that anymore." I was doing that all the time.
That is the worst.
Oh yeah, I was that asshole.
That's a whole episode, bro. That's like when you want. I always envision, like, when you're driving and that dude cuts you out and you get that mild case of road rage. You're like, dude, I wish I had like a button on my steering wheel that shot out spikes. I could blow this dude's tires out, like right in front of me, like something like Inspector Gadget type shit, man. But now here's the thing, and the thing with me about lunch meat is I am very anal with the way I like it sliced. Now I don't measure it with a ruler, but when I say I want my cheese sliced thin, I don't want it in a brick. Like, dude, like seriously, like I sometimes I think they they misunderstand me when I say sliced thin and they give me sliced thick.
They're just doing it on purpose because they hate.
I think that's what they're doing.
BJ's is usually good because they'll show you what they cut. They cut and they show you the people there that I have. They're like, you like this? Is this good? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
It used to be the sample you get, man.
Yeah,
half a lunch right there. I'd like, can I have this? Can I taste that?
Well, they used to offer it, but they've been cutting back on expenses. They've been cutting back on expenses, so they don't do it anymore. But you know what? You can't have a piece of thick ham. You just can't.
No. If I want that, I'll buy a decent Watson full ham and make it in the oven.
Yeah, or you'll throw it on your eggs for some Canadian. I don't want slices of Canadian bacon.
Yeah,
slice the ham thin.
Unbelievable. But boys, we got a lot of comments already. Trevor checking in. What's up, fellas? Trevor checking in. John, what happened? I know we're going to get into that. Al checking in first. Comment has to come from me. Tony, you said it first. Nobody agree with you. You're the man. Thanks, Al. I appreciate that. I am right from time to time. I blame Ben Simmons for getting me sick. Currently sick in bed. Trev, I hope you're feeling well, brother. Absolutely. Our girl Jenna checking in. Eagles looking good lately, huh? Here we go. Now we're getting to it. John, how's those Pittsburgh boys? Trevor checking out and get that info from my brother. Used to work in a deli.
That's a good idea, Trevor. We got to give us your brother. I'd love
to hear like the Deli Chronicles, man, from a meat slicer.
Oh,
seriously,
yeah, because they probably hate people like us.
Oh,
I'm sure
they do. They definitely do.
They hate everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, that's for sure.
There he goes, Andre. Yeah, I know Andre's talking about me, Al. Rich says it's a block. Yeah, that's 7/8, dude. That's a block of cheese. Nobody wants that. Jenna says Niners getting Justin Fields. You heard it here first. Interesting. Rich says, "Can you slice my cheese 1/64 of an inch?"
Sure, no problem.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Let me go around the other aisle and get my bread and jelly and everything else, and then I'll come back.
Exactly.
Sorry,
Jamar
John.
checking in. What's up, fam? Lunch meat connoisseur over here. I love it. Got to have the good lunch meat, man. Got to have the good lunch meat. But we got to get right into this, man. We do. Al said, hold on, beat with Nichols, laughing at Dave's comment. Love it. Jigsaw's angry. I'm always angry. I can't tell you. I'm always angry. You guys know that. But here we go. Stage is set. And I've been talking about this for the last few days. And I'm actually tired of talking about it. It's nauseating. And it's so frustrating. It is. And Dave, I told you to get ready to have the floor. And I told all you guys an opening statement. I can't rewrite what Mikey Goose texted me back when I said that, but it was pretty poetic. And it was right on point, but we just can't talk about it.
Yeah, that's a kid show.
Yeah, right. But what I will say is, before we talk, I had the opportunity. Okay, and I don't know how many people had the opportunity to listen to our fearless leader, Jeffrey Lurie, speak the other day, which I know Dave. No. I don't even know how Dave made it through the day. Okay?
I didn't watch it all.
I don't blame you. I don't
can't watch any of it. I can't watch that crap.
But before we get into the conversation, I was lucky enough to catch up with Jeff. And me and Jeff talked for a little bit, and he recorded a message.
Oh, okay.
And, right. And we got him on record, and I'm going to give you the message. This is Jeff. He just wants to let you understand what he's thinking going forward. Quick message, 10 seconds from Jeff. Here we go.
In these unprecedented times, the one thing I'm really looking forward to is cheering on our Eagles with you at Lincoln Financial Field. You are the best fans in the NFL, no doubt about that. We will get through this together, and when we do, we'll be right back on that road to victory. I can't wait. Stay safe and go Eagles.
There you go, man. That's Jeff. Like he just wants to let you know he's here for us, man. Dave, he's here. He's here for you, man. He says, fly, Eagles, fly. Jeff's all about, listen, you heard him. He wants to win, man. He wants to win. He wants to rebuild, get younger. He's hungry, Dave. Dave, talk to me. Opening statement right here. Coach Dave Dixon, Philadelphia Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Rhodes with Doug Pederson. What you got, buddy?
I'm going to tell you that Jeffrey Lurie is stealing all of our money. And he's a gigantic fraud at this point. He's lied to every one of us. And the stuff that I read from his interview that he said out loud yesterday is absolutely it's does he think we're idiots? Now, yes. You guys, the three of you guys know, and whoever else has paid attention to anything I said, I've been blaming Jeffrey Lurie for the last 2 months. I might have been the only one that called him out and said that he has betrayed all of us. And now what I'm hearing, he's loyal to Howie Roseman. 10 years or however long Howie Roseman has been here. I have no idea why this guy comes out clean from all this. Tony, you said it. You said that they were going to fire Doug, and I went with my heart, and I said that they were going to keep Doug and get rid of Howie because that was what my heart was hoping for. Because I believe, and I think a lot of other people also believe, that Howie Roseman is the true problem to this whole organization. But that connection is with Jeffrey. So Jeff Lurie is really the problem because he's not seeing clearly that this program is on a deep, dark spiral, and we're going to be in football dismay for several years here, fellas. And it's not a quick fix. It's not something that 3 free agents, 1 free agent can fix. And I am tired of the media. I've watched 2 things today, and Sal Paolantonio, who I like, has put the blame on Carson Wentz, saying that this is Howie Rose or Jeffrey Lurie pick between Doug Pederson and Carson Wentz. I'm going to tell you right now, that's another lie. What Jeffrey Lurie did was he picked between Doug and Howie. And what I believe happened is when Doug went into that interview with Jeffrey Lurie, he said, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of taking the blame for your guys' mess. So it's either him or me. And you see, and I guarantee you, Doug was fine walking out that door being fired because you know why? He was tired of the nonsense. And he will get a head coaching job next year. He will be a head coach of another football team shortly. Before we pick another one is what I think. I could go on, Tony. I'm extremely pissed off. I'm disappointed for our fans. I'm sorry to tell you that our fans should be on a witch hunt for Howie Roseman and for Jeffrey Lurie, and because they're frauds. They're flat out frauds.
Go ahead, Mike. Come on, Goose, give it to us. The irrational fan perspective. You know I know what you're thinking.
We've said this many times. We don't know, right? We can just speculate. That's what we do, right? We have fun. I do no research at all. Okay, I just speak from a fan. All right. Yes. There's times where I looked at Doug Pederson and I just scratched my head on calls that he made, things that he's done, judgment calls that he's made, things like that. And then when you look at what Howie Roseman has done for the organization and you look at, just the horrendous draft picks that he's made and the mess with Chip Kelly, when you really, really peel the layers of the onion back, it just looks like to me, again, this is just a fan perspective, but it just looks like to me that Howie Roseman gets protected. And they found a scapegoat in Pederson. And I think Pederson really held back of not saying maybe things that were on his mind or things that he wanted to say because he just doesn't remind me of that kind of guy that goes against the grain. And, he's kind of a guy that just kind of goes along with it and doesn't want to cause problems and probably put a little bit too much trust into Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman than he should have. And maybe when he realized that it was too late. The biggest problem I see out of all of this is we don't even know where that power struggle was or what happened, although we can speculate. But the report that came out today that said that it was Carson Wentz that basically said his relationship was fractured with Pederson, and then he wouldn't come back if Pederson came back. So there's that's kind of thrown into the mix. And then there's the PR stunt show that they spun. They spun up really nice by saying that once Doug Pederson said that he wanted to promote Press Taylor to the offensive coordinator, and it was at that point that Jeffrey Lurie realized that the Eagles and what the Eagles wanted to do from the Lurie's perspective and Pederson's, they obviously had very different ideas on the overall trajectory of the team, which to me sounds like a total BS PR stunt. It sounds like that they're just trying to pin it all on Doug. And I'm not trying to say that Doug was the smartest coach ever. I mean, there's plenty of times that we looked at him and we thought he was, like I said earlier, he was just completely clueless and he's lost complete control of the team. But this is a bad move. I think that maybe if he would have had more people around him, he would have been better. I think maybe if they would have moved on from Wentz and Roseman, we would have been better. We at least could have looked forward to, the Eagles being broken down and being rebuilt with a different type of foundation, a strong foundation underneath them. And right now it just looks like a big cover up and a shit show, and we still don't know who's driving the bus and we don't know anything. So, have we really gotten better from firing Doug Pederson? Are we really in a better situation financially with the salary cap? Are they still going to hold on to a broken player like Carson Wentz when you have Jalen Hurts right underneath of him. You have all of these injuries, tons of veterans that aren't coming back, no trajectory on the future, and they have a great draft pick. How are we going to screw that up? I mean, there's so many question marks right now. So, like Dave is right. Fans should be upset. I couldn't even watch the last couple of games because it was just depressing.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And as you see, listen, there's so many comments. I would read them all. So I'm clicking them on the screen. So please don't think that we're not reading them. I'm putting them there for everybody. Rob Texan says the dynamic on the Eagles brass is interesting. I think Doug went in. They're demanding Press Taylor, so there was less voices in the play calling room. Lurie is a fake, and Howie is an incompetent piece of you-know-what.
Very nice, Robert.
And I'll tell you what. And before I get to John, I really there is definitely some credence to that. There's some truth to that statement because, if you're going into your boss, and listen, we all, whether we're a boss of our own company or we're a boss of our children, when you have a meeting with somebody and you already have a direction in mind and you're going to them and you ask them, which is exactly what happened. Jeff said, "What do you think, Doug?" Well, what way do we, and Doug says, you heard in a press conference that Jeffrey Lurie is treating this as a 2 to 5 year rebuild. He wants to get younger. He said that specifically. Okay, read between the lines. Carson Wentz is gone. Okay, if you haven't figured it out, you're way behind the 8 ball here. And I think Doug went into there, and not only did he say he doesn't think he needs a rebuild, but he wanted to promote all these coaches that absolutely stunk. And so, listen, everybody wants to say we feel bad for Doug and he got done dirty and whatever. You know what? Listen, Sean said it earlier. The only correct move right here, the only correct move was to fire. Let me get it. Yeah, the only correct move was to fire Doug and Howie.
Yes. So firing one doesn't fix the other one. That's the thing. You're in the same spot. If anything, you went backwards. It was completely stupid.
And I agree with that. And they didn't do it. It showed the allegiance right there. It showed the allegiance right there. We got our own account checking in. I know I'm not going to say his name, but we love it. Doug will become Rich Kotite 2.0. Howie is awful as well, and Lurie is a meddler. And that's one thing that is very interesting because if I originally never thought Jeffrey Lurie was that kind of owner. And all of a sudden, I've woken up, and he's now Jerry Jones and Daniel Snyder. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure where this is coming from. And this is a big problem because what coach is going to want to come here and work under this kind of leadership?
Zero.
Right? It's a big problem. Now, before I get to John, before we get to anything, and this is only a minute long, but Jim Trotter, for CBS Football, he had a tremendous point. I love it. Listen to this, and John, get right to you for your point, but he is spot on with his take here.
Money isn't good money, and all jobs aren't good jobs. And so you have to do your homework before going into the Eagles situation. I remember recently talking to Vance Joseph about taking over the Broncos job, and he said he didn't vet it properly in terms of understanding where the real power lied and how much influence John Elway was going to have over personnel. Same thing here. Howie Roseman has so much power in terms over staff members, personnel, all of that. And if you're going in as a head coach, you have to ask yourself whether or not you want to work under those conditions. And look, I'll say this. A lot of folks are on Howie Roseman right now, and deservedly so. But to me, Howie didn't hire himself, and Howie didn't empower himself. The owner did. So clearly, Jeffrey Lurie has made a decision here about who he trusts in this situation, and it's Howie Roseman. If Howie Roseman wants to pick the coaching staff and the players, then go ahead and let Howie Roseman be the head coach, in my opinion, because it's going to be difficult for any head coach to succeed long-term under those situations.
That was spot on.
Thank you, Jim Trotter.
That was spot on.
I've been saying Jeffrey Lurie's been the problem with this.
Yep.
And listen, Tony, you wanted to get rid of Doug. I really didn't have a problem with that. I wanted to get rid of Howie because, to me, you have 32 teams in the NFL, right? The teams that are left this weekend, you look at their structure. You look at their GM structure. You look at their coach relationship, and it seems to be solid from there on down. That's how successful programs work. Our program will not work Coaches, you know what coach you're going to get? You're going to get a first-time coach, right, that doesn't know any better, that is going to come in here and be a puppet. That's how it's going to go. That's why you're going to be an NFL football black hole until Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie figure this out and get rid of Howie and get a football guy.
But what if Jeffrey Lurie says it does work, Dave? Howie won a Super Bowl, and Howie keeps telling me to hang in there because he did it once, he can do it again. The Super Bowl was I hate to say it, but it could be the worst thing that ever happened because this guy's going to be in here 10 years selling Lurie that crap.
Yes.
Well, listen to me. Your head coach that you just fired won a Super Bowl without a starting middle linebacker, without a starting left tackle, without a starting quarterback. And he made the playoffs 3 out of the 5 years that he was here, and you just fired him. So you can't tell me that the Super Bowl was the be-all, end-all for this program because you just fired the coach that got you that never happened here in this city. So
because maybe they don't think it was on him, though. Maybe they think it was Howie that put this roster together, that Howie's the genius. Look, whatever Howie is or whatever he's doing, you're right, Dave. 100% it's Lurie's fault because it's Lurie's club. Sure. But he trusts Roseman for whatever reason. And, I guess whatever Roseman did, and we could say, well, there was a lot of influence with Joe Douglas there. They made a lot of good free agent signings. They had a lot of luck. I mean, obviously, you need a lot of luck to win the Super Bowl, and trust me, we had plenty of luck. We had Carson bowling out. We got the first round bye because of the way Carson played. He was playing out of his mind until he was injured. We did get a lot of lucky breaks. But end of the day, maybe he's looking at Pederson, and maybe you're right, Dave. Maybe they think he was just a puppet all to begin with, and Roseman was the one pulling the strings the whole time. Maybe you're right.
Well, I mean, listen, Jeffrey and Howie's connection are the demise of the program.
That's for sure.
You just named Joe Douglas. Now, out of that Super Bowl run, how many people in the program are left? Deuce Staley, right? The other puppet that gets talked about being the next head coach. That would be an interesting thing. Another puppet walk in here and be the head coach of this football team. Never good enough. And no one feels sorry for Doug Pederson. Tony, I mean, at least no one that I know of sitting in front of us. I don't feel sorry for Doug.
Nah,
Doug's going to go get another job where maybe he gets more power and they actually allow him to be himself.
Let me take you back a little bit, all right? Just so I can bring us all back to baseline. Remember when Pederson was hired, and remember when we won the Super Bowl. Remember what we all said. Thank God we took Pederson and not that other bonehead. There was 3 or 4 boneheaded candidates. Who was it? Yes, these guys.
McAdoo.
McAdoo, thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't remember. Everybody wanted Ben McAdoo. That was it. It was like, we have to get this guy. He's the next coaching phenomenon. Could you imagine the disaster that, well, you know what? Maybe if Howie was calling all the shots and it didn't matter who was there, maybe it would have worked. I don't know. But we were all saying when we won the Super Bowl that thank God it was Doug that was there and we didn't take one of these other stiffs. Crazy how things change so fast, man.
It is. Brian seconded says, are we really sure Wentz is gone? Lurie and company moved off twice to get Wentz. They gave him input on the offense, even some input on the offensive draft picks in just year 2. Then Wentz butted heads with Doug. Doug is gone. I'm not sold Wentz is gone. Not at all. Listen, I'm going to go right to John here. He's been the silent assassin behind the microphone, just taking this all in. He's had a rough weekend, and he's the guy who said he would take Wentz in a heartbeat with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, John, just the Eagles as a whole, and just a comment like that, so Wentz is gone, man. What are you thinking over there?
You know what? I don't read anything into anything till it happens. All right? Pederson's job was safe week 16. All of a sudden, he's canned. All right, and there's nothing given, and who knows the way that it's going to play out. You know what I mean? Even on this show, we talk about it. I think it's open quarterback competition. You don't know what teams you could shop to. With the salary implications and the cap implications. I mean, with the signing, you don't really know. Yeah, maybe you could get a team that really wants him and thinks that they could resurrect him, and pay a little more. But you're not getting the name value and worth of them. So with that being said, and seeing a 5-game sample of Hurts, why not have an open competition?
Right.
But you don't know. That's not to say if you want to get rid of them, that's fine. It's not going to be easy to find a trading partner. It's not going to be easy.
You don't know that.
Dude, look, there's probably 10 teams, at least 15 teams that have a starting quarterback that they're committed to. There's going to be another handful coming out in the draft.
Okay.
I would even go more than 15. I mean, and then of those remaining teams, how many are actually going to pay up for Wentz? If they're not a good team, they're not going to fork their money over for a guy that could be washed up. So the market really isn't there.
John, you might be right about that. I never really considered that. I mean, there's still a lot of question marks unless it's all in the league. Everybody knows that it's not Wentz. Wentz has got talent. He just has really bad coaching around him. Who knows what people think?
Yeah,
well, you have professionals like the guy that just came on here that said things along the line like you're not going to get a coach to come into this situation. So what coach is going to come in here?
They'll find a coach, Dave. You know that. They found coaches they'll find one.
They'll find a coach. That doesn't make him capable of fixing Carson now.
Possibly. But let me throw something at you, Dave. That's a good point, but possibly. Like Tony mentioned Daniel Snyder, right? I mean, it was like a running joke to play for this guy, to coach for this team, right? And then all of a sudden, did he get smart? And he brings in like look, we're going to call him a retread, right? But he brings it, and we've had this conversation on plenty of episodes. There's only a certain handful of people that could lead a team of multimillionaires and keep them all focused on the same goal without the whole shit melting down. I'm sorry, but that has to be a collective personality that there's a reason why there's only a small group of these guys. So he brings in Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera's no idiot. He knows exactly who he was coaching for. Maybe Snyder learned a little bit and backed off. We don't know what happens in the inner workings of that organization, but whatever they're doing, it's showing some success.
I know Daniel Snyder changed his GM multiple times
for sure.
to get it right.
Yeah,
so
he did.
Say what you want about Daniel Snyder. The guy spent money, number one. And number two,
a lot of money.
He changed coaches and he changed GMs until he seems to hit. I mean, everybody loves Ron Rivera, don't they? I think the whole NFL loves Ron Rivera.
Loves Ron Rivera.
Yeah, very
so
respected.
Look what they have done. They have got draft picks, right? They've drafted all 4 defensive linemen, our number 1 draft picks. They got a defensive coach. They picked another head coach to be a defensive coordinator. The Washington Redskins have hit on draft picks, except for Haskins, right? Okay, so that was a big problem.
Yeah, Ron Rivera inherited Haskins. Right?
Okay, so my point to this is that the owner has seen his flaws, got replaced GMs almost as much as he replaced Sox until he figured out that he got a guy in here to do a good job.
Well, there's a lot of stuff behind that as well. I mean, listen, I've been on record on this show many of times and said we could say whatever we want about Jeffrey Lurie. The guy spends cash. Okay, and he doesn't spend it. He gives it to Howie to spend, and Howie's just spent it in the wrong spot at times. So eventually, Jeff is going to get annoyed with that kind of concept. But to say Jeffrey Lurie hasn't spent money, I think is irresponsible because we've always. No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying a lot of people were. I'm not going to say Jeffrey Lurie's a bad owner in that perspective. Okay, he will learn. Okay, he will learn, and a lot of these things coming out, they are scary. Okay, I want to go back into tons of comments, but this is one. Al checks in. Banner just posted that Jeff would have never done this without already having a coach in place, and I agree, 100%, 100%. And we're going to get into this a little later. And that guy to me is Lincoln Riley. Mm-hmm. Okay, we can say what we want.
Oh, really? You think so? You think they're going to go down the Chip Kelly route again?
Yes, I do. And I think, and I'm not saying I agree with it. Listen, I've been on record. I was on record today. I was on Fox Sports at Gambler, on the Final Judgment segment, and I said I think they should be looking at a guy like Todd Bowles. I think they should look at a guy like Todd Bowles.
Andy Retreat.
But he is, but he's not. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give me Mike Kafka. Don't give me that name. God. I want to put my head through a freaking wall if you tell me Mike Kafka. Give me a break. Okay, you might just let Chase Daniel be a freaking coach. Okay? But my thing about Todd Bowles, he's a leader of men. Okay, and you bring the Todd Bowles because he got a raw deal in New York. That wasn't his fault out there. Okay, and he actually won 9-10 games. Okay, so say what you want about Todd Bowles. Okay, the man knows how to coach in the NFL. If you want a flashy guy, then bring a flashy offensive coordinator in here. Bring the new college guy as an OC. But I just think that Jeff. Okay, and I don't know if Lincoln Riley wants this job. And I'm not saying Lincoln Riley is the guy for this job. But it's not going to be Deuce. It's not going to be Eric Bieniemy. It's not going to be any of these guys. You know, they really like the defensive coordinator for San Francisco, but I think they're a little late for him. Okay? And don't give me Dan Quinn. Don't give me one of these guys.
Stop.
Right?
Stop.
Right.
Exactly.
Just
stop that stuff. Don't even say that.
Exactly.
God forbid.
Exactly.
That he is a complete stiff. We do not want him.
I agree.
But what makes you say that no Eric Bieniemy? I'm curious on that. What's your thought process?
I don't want anybody from the Chiefs.
Yeah, I know you don't, but what I see, and I go back to Dave all the time on this, is Lurie is just that kind of guy that's sort of stuck in his own ways. Lurie and Andy Reid they had this bromance from the beginning when Lurie bought the team, when Andy Reid came in and pitched him on why he should be the coach. I don't know. There's just a lot of history there, and I think he trusts Andy Reid. And if Andy Reid comes out and says, hey, you listened to me about Pederson, who was good for a couple years. He won you a Super Bowl. This is the next guy,
I think Andy might cut Jeff off. Andy might be like, screw you, bro. I gave you Pederson, and you did him dirty. I think he might cut him off. I think Eric Bieniemy's looking at this situation saying, I want no part of it. Eric Bieniemy, he's going to go to Houston. Yeah. He's going to be Houston Texans coach.
Yeah, because Andy Reid might say, stay away from that shit show.
Yes.
I had 14 years of it. Doug only lasted 5. You don't want to go there. That's possible, too.
Well, that's how they work, right? And actually, Kafka was blocked from being interviewed because of Andy. He did that, I'm pretty sure, last year. But listen, Tony, Kafka fits their mold. Kafka fits their mold. It's a young guy that they can press. Poor guy.
Look at this stiff. Put him back. Look at this guy. I mean, you're telling me that his plan was to go into Lurie's office and say, this is our new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to believe that? Let me spin
it to you this way on that.
We're supposed to believe that bullshit? I don't believe that.
Listen.
Look at this guy. He's a joke. He's a friggin' joke. Come on. Stop. Even Pederson isn't that dumb to do that.
Well, here's what I think. Oh my God.
You know what? This is just, if anybody is trying to figure out how much pain we have as Eagles fans,
look at that.
This picture paints 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Just look at it.
Yes.
That's where we are right now.
That's exactly where we are. That should have been the telling point right there when Doug was able to answer 2 questions, and the first time we started talking, they couldn't even get the audio right. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I can't hear.
We got some ice cream. Pederson looks like he's been through a war zone.
Yeah.
I mean, he just looks defeated. How could you not feel bad for him, man?
My God, I'm sorry,
Wow.
Dave. I had to.
Just wow.
No, I'm just saying this was Press Taylor. You brought that up. This is my spin on that, and obviously you know that we have no idea, Mike. You talk about that all the time. We really don't know.
It's fun to guess.
So here's my perspective and my thoughts on how that went. Doug just got his legs cut out from him from the last couple years of the coaches he wanted.
Okay.
Right? And the guys that they brought in, Morningweg and Press Taylor and whoever else, out of all those guys, Doug took this guy and said, you know what, he's a young guy, offensive coordinator, who really cares? I'm calling the plays anyway.
All right.
Right? So he went into them and said, I want to keep these guys. These are my coaches that I want on board with me. This is who I want to go forward with. Just maybe to see what the answer was. That's what I believe. I believe he went in there with a game plan like Tony talked about and see, throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks, in other words. And this is what happened. See you later, Doug.
But think about it. Maybe you're right, but think about it. I mean, the regression from Wentz, because Press Taylor was the guy that was supposed to be working one-on-one to develop Wentz. They put Press Taylor in charge of $100 million asset. And this guy, he failed, miserably failed. And then I'm just supposed to believe that Pederson actually went to the owner of the team after the regression of their star franchise player and said, Press Taylor needs a promotion, boss. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. That's bullshit spun by Howie Roseman's PR department. I don't believe it.
How did Press Taylor get here? I'm pretty sure that I don't think Doug brought him in.
You should just leave it up for the rest of the show, because every time I see this guy, I just feel like I don't know, walking into a Payless or something. I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't.
You're right, Dave. You might be right. I mean,
Dave, you might be right.
You might be right,
Mike. I think it's a conspigucy theory.
I love him.
But at the same time, I've always said, and I continue to say, that Doug's a dope. So
he's not. No, he's not the sharpest pencil.
Say what you want. We can't just say. And here's the thing: we cannot just continue to say that, just because Doug won a Super Bowl, that he can't be fired. Okay? And you know what? For sake of argument, can somebody please go with me now down to Lincoln Financial Field and go to the Wells Fargo Center so I can rip the freaking statue down of Doug Pederson and Nick Foles? I mean, seriously, can we get rid of that now? I mean,
I don't think you can. I don't think you can touch that. Where are you going with that? That you can't. That's like
done.
You can't touch it.
You know why? Because Nick Foles doesn't deserve a statue, man. I'm sorry.
No, bro. What is going on here?
No.
Really? You really don't think that?
I never thought he deserved. You're a backup quarterback.
You don't deserve a statue. You won the only trophy that our city's never seen, and you wanted.
Yeah, I want to take the statue down.
Why? All right, let me ask you this. Let's get into the Philly special really quick, okay? We should have queued up the face of Pederson when Foles called that play, and not Pederson. Foles called that play.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I don't know, man. Foles made some big. I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree with that. Yeah, he stepped in. It was a team effort. You know what? When I think about it,
Mike,
they shouldn't have put. They didn't put Carson there. They should.
Exactly.
If you put.
Exactly.
You're right. I guess.
Think how dysfunctional that is. I saw that on Facebook today. Talking to your kid in 20 years or your grandkid when you walk into the game, and you see that statue, and you explain to them, "Oh yeah, these two guys won us a Super Bowl." But
he did. But Foles got it done. Foles got it done.
And wait a minute.
2 years after that, we got rid of the quarterback, and 3 years after that, we got rid of the coach.
Hold on for a second. And you know what the kid says to you, Dave? So Nick Foles, how good of a quarterback was he? Where else did he play? What did he do after that?
He was good enough that day.
Right? So if Chase Daniels won a freaking Super Bowl, we could put a statue up of Chase Daniels? I mean, come on, man. Who put the statue up of a backup quarterback?
This goofy city does.
Well, exactly. Well, it's a slap in the face.
Nobody was saying it when we won. It was the greatest day in the history of Philadelphia sports, and the Eagles finally won that Super Bowl. Everybody was anointing, Saint Nick, Nick this, Nick that. Statue went up 3 years later, 4 years later.
BDN.
Peterson's canned. Everybody forgot.
BDN. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, BDN. But you know what? I know it's a topic for a different day. Let's stay on focus. And I will say, because I want to get to this.
It's an interesting point, Tone. I never thought about it. It's very dysfunctional, and I never really thought about it. It's a very interesting point. We need to revisit this topic.
Yes. We really do. There's so many more people that should have had a statue instead of those two guys. I'm sorry. You honestly, listen. We'll get on another day. So Sean mentions Brian DeBoli as fixing Wentz like he did Josh Allen. So I'll give you the name of this entire thing that I think is the sleeper out of everybody, and that's Brian Gable. And I really, really like where that search would be going, but I don't hear his name enough. Here's a guy who is learning under Sean McDermott, who is, again, he's from that Andy Reid tree, but also the Ron Rivera tree. Okay, McDermott's learned from a lot of big-time talent, a lot of historic coaches, and he is doing justice out there in Buffalo. And I think this is the kind of hire that you look at, and you look at a guy who can call a very productive offense. You heard Jeffrey Lurie. He wants an elite offense. That's what he said specifically in that press conference. Elite. Okay, so
Riley.
you're right. You're not getting a defensive coach here. As much as I still think Todd Bowles get a chance, you're not getting a defensive coach here. He wants an elite offense. So he wants the next Kyle Shanahan. And I'll tell you what, let's go back real fast. And because everybody's spot on. Mike, you were spot on. Dave, you're spot on. Sean, you were spot on when you say you fire Doug and Howie both. And the reason why is look at what has happened in Las Vegas. What you do is you start fresh with a brand new guy in John Gruden and a brand new GM in Mike Mayock. And you take two guys to revitalize that franchise, not one against the other, two guys. That's how you rebuild. And look what they're doing out there. That's what we should be doing here. And for for Jeff to talk about, I brought this up earlier. Is there a reason why we're the only team in the NFL that always has to wait for our players to develop? Like, we can never get a draft pick that ever plays the first year. You heard that in Jeff. Let's not just talk year to year. Let's talk about, further down the line. We don't know where these guys are going to be. Listen, your number one pick in Jalen Reagor, say what you want, didn't know he had to go on the field. Jalen Reagor didn't know what play to run. He didn't know what route to run. Say what you want. And if it is true that he had input in wanting to get J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, if this was Jeffrey Lurie's pick, that's a major, major problem. Okay? And again, like you said, Dave, this is not going away anytime soon. Anytime soon. It's really not. It's very disheartening. We came into this year and we were not expecting to have this kind of issue. We came in this year thinking we were going to contend. We came in this year thinking that we had a solid team and a franchise quarterback. And now we have zero. Now we have a team, right? We have zero. We have no coach. We have no quarterback, right? Because as much as, yes, I am all in on Jalen. I think Jalen is the next guy. I don't know how good he's going to be, but I'm all in on him as being the next guy for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that's the direction you take. But we still don't know. We don't know what our offensive line is going to look like. We don't know what our defense is going to look like. And let me just say this last before I go on one of you guys, because I actually had to take a drink. But why was it that Malcolm Jenkins, Malcolm Jenkins, a true leader, on and off the field, I did not see one tweet from Malcolm Jenkins saying Doug got done dirty. I did not see one tweet from Malcolm Jenkins that said, well, Doug, he's my coach. I go to battle with him. What I seen was Deuce is the guy. What I seen was Deuce is the next man up. My confidence is in Deuce. This is a problem because what that says to me is all these theories about Doug being the voice in the locker room and him leading the locker room and everybody loving Doug, just maybe that's not very true. So there's more reasons than just Doug wanting Press Taylor to be the heir apparent, to be the offensive play caller. There's a lot more things for us to unravel here. So, John, you're always the voice of reason, and you have your own issues over there. Okay, we watched a team that we thought, and I'll give it to you. I have to say this before I let you talk. You were spot on because when I came on here and said, "Man, Steelers 11-0, what are they going to?" and you said, "Whoa, I'm not getting too excited. We still got a lot of problems. We have a lot of problems on offense. We have a lot, injuries can happen, and everything did derail." Everything. So 100% you were spot on. So taking that perspective and seeing this situation, man, what do you see? You just watch a quarterback throw 68 times. My arm would fall off. I don't even know how he continued to throw the ball. It was ridiculous, but they still lost. So John, what kind of wisdom can you give us over there?
Wisdom with your coaching situation?
Yeah, give us some wisdom, John. You give us some wisdom. What are you thinking here, man? Where does this go?
I don't know, but I did say after week 16 or after week 17, after the fourth quarter benching, so I guess it would have been last week's episode, I said I would not be surprised if that's the trigger for him out the door. And I really do think that you just talked about, Malcolm Jenkins, and does he have the locker room? And I think that Week 17 game, putting in Sudfeld, look, if you're teetering on the fence, I mean, and now you just lose some of your main guys, your horses are now like thinking against the coach. And then you come saying, I want to promote Press Taylor or whatever, and they're not happy with that plan. So look, and the other piece of it is, look, Howie might look. If Howie convinces Jeffrey Lurie that Doug got to go because of all that, look, Lurie interviews both of them. All right, what are we doing here, guys? Like, this wasn't a good year. It stunk. What are we doing? Howie goes in and says, yeah, I don't know. Who knows what he says? Doug goes in and says, well, after losing the locker room, yeah, Press Taylor. And I bet you any money that Howie talked to him ahead of time and just kind of got a bug in his ear. And Jeffrey Lurie's like, oh, yeah, okay, Howie. That sounds good. We'll get rid of Doug. And because they didn't like his plan. So I think he's out. That's what it is. Now, why Lurie or Howie's still there? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Lurie was afraid to get rid of his two rocks. I don't know. I don't know how close he is. Maybe he uses one of them as a crutch, whichever one's there the longest. Who knows?
That's a good point, John. It's just something we talk about a lot either. I mean, we did bring it up in previous episodes, but we said, we were throwing away hypotheticals like we tend to do a lot. And we said, look, we don't know the relationship between Lurie and Roseman. We don't know if Lurie goes in and tells Roseman, all his personal stuff. We don't know if Howie's doing a lot of personal stuff outside of what we know for him. He could be a very close confidant. It seems that the relationship's a lot stronger because
10 years.
Anybody that screwed up the draft picks that he did. And again, I understand because Tony's going to come back. He brings me back to baseline with that. He said, listen, you can't look at it like that because other teams pass too. But we don't pay our people to consistently blow draft picks. Okay? And he has lost a hell of a lot more than he's won on the draft board. All right? He's not good. Okay? And that drafting and the poor drafting affects franchises for a long time. You're talking years to recover. I mean, if you think about it, and I'm not saying that we would have, okay, but if you really think about it, our wide receiver core could be crazy. They could be crazy ridiculous. We could have literally had Justin Jefferson and DK Metcalf. Now, again, who knows? Some of the other foundational issues may have prevented the Eagles from having the success that Seattle had with Metcalf and maybe what Minnesota had with Jefferson. But on paper, it would have looked pretty amazing. And maybe some of those other players don't get hurt because the offense is spread around and it's actually functioning like a competent offense. So there's tons of different things that you can say in terms of hypotheticals of what if or what at, and I guess it's pointless to do that, but at the end of the day, the guy just blows draft picks one after the next, and the Mr. Joe Banner school of bean counting completely fucked up the salary cap. So what is he doing?
Mike, I could kiss you right now.
Why is he here? What is he doing? What value does he provide? He's hurting the organization. The guy just hurts the organization. And now the Eagles have a rep that nobody wants to work with him. I'm for sure. You know what, Tone? I don't know what's going to happen in terms of coaching. All right, you guys all made interesting points on who they're going to get, but Dave brought an interesting point up too, and he said puppet. Okay, I would not be surprised, and this is nothing against Deuce Staley. Okay, he may be an amazing coach. He may have. It may be his turn. He's not the guy I want because I don't think he'll do it at all. Okay, I think it's a complete failure, and for no fault of Deuce. I just don't think that he has whatever he needs in order to succeed with these two guys pulling the strings. I don't think it would be good. I just don't think he's the right guy. Okay, wow. But again, I don't know anything, but it wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised tomorrow morning if we wake up and they announce Deuce Staley or somebody like that as the new head coach.
Deuce Staley has survived. Deuce Staley has survived Chip Kelly.
He has.
And now Doug Pederson. Yeah. And he's been there. He's survived all the other offensive coaches that have been whacked, right? And he is a yes guy. There's only one way to say that. And listen, I love Deuce as a player. I thought Deuce was an excellent football player for us. I appreciated his lunch pail mentality. But the issue, 10 years or around 10 years, I could be wrong, Howie Roseman has been in this program. You've got rid of football guys like Louis Riddick we brought up. Tony mentioned him. Joe Douglas, Chip Kelly. You say what you want about Chip. Obviously, we all do. but we were drinking the juice, and he's considered a football guy. Doug Pederson is. You say what you want. The players that did say some beautiful things about Doug, they did love him. He's a football guy. They're all gone. They're all gone. And who's left? Howie Roseman. Howie is the linchpin that is going to keep us from being successful.
He holds massive influence over Jeffrey Lurie. Yeah. Massive.
You go back to that Super Bowl team and you look at our ability to have depth. We had depth at different positions, and it was built up because of prior drafts that Howie wasn't a part of. Chip Kelly was a part of, and before that, Andy Reid was a part of. Okay, so what you lack now is the ability for a coach to come in here and actually have depth at positions. You are building from scratch, and you're asking Howie Roseman, who sucks at the draft, and a new coach that has never coached in the NFL before, to build our program together. It's not likely.
I'm sure that Marcus Smith pick was a Roseman pick. I'm sure it was. Mm-hmm. And I remember when that happened, when Chip Kelly was out and there was just, everybody was pointing the finger and it was all Chip Kelly. But when you think about who Chip Kelly drafted, okay, think about it. He drafted Zach Ertz. He drafted Lane Johnson. Who else? I know Aguilar was. I know Aguilar was horrible. I killed Aguilar. He's obviously a good player. Whatever was here, he couldn't get it going. He goes to the Raiders. He does really well. He did have a big 2017. So he did provide value. All right, I'm not saying I'll give Aguilar a pass, but Chip Kelly drafted some pretty good players for the Eagles, and there's still players that were. I think Brandon Graham was drafted from Reed, right? Fletcher Cox was drafted from Andy Reid. There's a lot. Yes. Jason Kelsey was Andy Reid. So yes. When you talk about foundations, there, it seems like the foundation was laid down from those from drafts that maybe Howie Roseman didn't have much influence over at all.
And that's my point exactly, Mike. And now our franchise is left up to this guy redoing our cap, which he destroyed, right? And now he's going to be responsible for building our football team through the draft and picking our next head coach. Thank you very much.
So if that's the case, and to us it seems crystal clear what the issue is here, right? What is Lurie not seeing? I mean, there has
loyalty.
To be... Yeah, but loyalty is one thing, right? Because if you're saying that you want to take the team in a different direction and you're getting rid of the head coach, I mean, it seems like Lurie keeps sticking his fingers in it. Look, it's his business. It's his team. He can do whatever he wants, okay? But it seems like, as Tony said, that Lurie was never involved in the day-to-day operations, and now it's like this mini Jerry Jones is being created, and he's really getting involved. How about this for a theory, since we're throwing out some crazy theories? How about Lurie is the one screwing all up, and he just uses Howie as a proxy because he knows Howie will take the abuse, get kicked in his teeth, and cover for him. Nobody ever floated that theory, but I was thinking about that.
I love
Never
that.
know.
Because that feeds right into me saying that Jeffrey Lurie is one of the biggest blames. That's Howie.
That's Howie. Exactly.
It's a great point. It's a great point because you never know.
Never know.
You never know.
It's super frustrating. Let me ask you guys, and let's start with John. Let me just float this question. And I'm going to ask John because he's a hometown guy, but he's not really an Eagles fan. What would you do now? Like if you had influence, if you were the GM, right? Where do you go from here as the Eagles? Right now, right here, in the situation that you're in. What's the first thing or two that you address?
Well, does that mean that Howie's locked in?
No,
well, let's just
GM.
pretend you're Howie. Okay. Well, let's pretend. Yeah, let's pretend that you're. Howie's locked in. He's not going anywhere. There's no point to say he's going to get fired because whatever that guy could kill people, he's not going to get fired. Yeah, right? We all know that.
I mean, I don't know. Truthfully, it's basically. I think whoever posted that's right. He has the keys to the car. I think he could get Lurie to agree to whatever he wants. I think he's just smooth talked him or connived him. I don't know. I just have a feeling that's what that relationship is. So Howie can do whatever he wants right now. At least that to me is his mindset. So what's in his best interest? That I don't know. I know they want to win some games. So I think you go for the offensive coach that gives you the best chance of putting up some stats. And I don't think the Tennessee coach that has revitalized Tannehill. Tannehill was in the doldrums of Miami with Adam Gase, dude. I don't want to hear that he revitalized Tannehill. Tannehill was able to escape Miami, so I don't want that guy.
No, I don't want him either. But you, one thing you guys are missing is during that press conference. What I got out of that is I kind of understood why Jeff really loves Howie. And I think the reason why Jeff is delusional as well, because Jeff is a big analytics guy. And if you listened to the way he explained Howie, he consistently said, have to look at the whole picture. Oh, have to look at the whole picture. So Howie could be feeding him these pie charts, okay? And let's remember something. Jeffrey Lurie, listen, he's a spoiled kid who got rich. He didn't build an empire. Okay, he wasn't like one of these guys who built a company from the ground up, and and he hit on certain things. This isn't a guy who made his money. He was given money. Okay, so we don't know what Howie Roseman's floating out there. He'd be coming up with these statistics and say, hey, Jeff, I understand we haven't hit a draft pick last couple of years, but if you look at the overall, Jeff kept saying that, look at the overall scheme. I could see Howie in there on a whiteboard saying, Jeff, I know we haven't hit on this, and he mentioned the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know if you guys caught that. He mentioned Seattle. He said, well, if you look at the Seattle Seahawks, because that must be the moniker that Howie Roseman is using, and he's showing it. And he's saying, look at all the guys they missed on. Jeff, look at these guys they missed on. And he's saying, look, they've still been successful. They go up and down. He continued to say that. So that's how Howie Roseman is pulling the wool over Jeffrey Lurie, because Jeff don't know football. He knows stats. That's it. You heard him. He was quick to say, biggest record. We set records in the NFL this year for passing yards, for points scored. I won the lead off. That's all Jeff knows. He doesn't know numbers. He doesn't know talent evaluation. So he's getting fed by Howie, and he's winning. Howie's winning. Howie is an evil genius. Think about it. I might not be able to stand him. Howie is a genius. He's going nowhere.
I go back to what Mike said, and I don't think we missed anything, because right, I believe. I'm not. When I say you, I'm not talking about you. No. I'm just saying in general. I think the stuff. Right. I think the stuff that we've read, or personally that I've read on social media, I think I've seen more people in disgust and pinpointed Howie Roseman than ever has been talked about before. Here, first of all, if you choose to get the wool pulled over your eyes, you will, right? So that's what Jeffrey. He's in bed with this guy. He wants to defend him, so he's going to believe whatever he's selling him. But Mike brought up something a couple weeks ago. It's something that we touched on together, and it was the fact that when you go around the 32 other billionaires that own that company, and you're the laughing stock of that particular group, that's when you figure out that, you know what, we need to make changes. And when you figure out, when these professionals that you pointed out, Tony, you sent a little video up of what was his name?
Jim Trotter.
Jim Trotter. Excellent job by Jim Trotter. And he does an excellent job. And he's pointing out that Howie Roseman is the problem, and that you are going to have problems getting guys here. And he says things out loud, well, then Howie Roseman should be coaching the team. There is no wool to be pulled over, because that's what every professional that knows football is saying, the same thing throughout the country.
Good point.
Sometimes, though, it doesn't matter, right? Think about this, guys. Think about this. And I don't want to make this a chauvinist statement here, but I'll say guys and girls alike, whoever's watching the show, we've all grown up and we've all had girlfriends or boyfriends where our friends or our parents have said, she's no good for you. He's no good for you. Everybody's told you that she's no good for you. And you guess what? You still went with her because you, at the end of the day, you went with your gut. That's what you trusted at that time, because whatever bullshit she was feeding you at that time, you were buying in. This is what's going on right now. right? I mean, I don't know any other way. There's no other logic for this to happen away. And that press conference, you could just tell. You could just tell Jeff is so delusional about what's actually going on. He is. In his mind,
you're right. There's a common denominator with the love thing, though, right? It's more emotional. Do you think maybe like people get hooked on each other because your brain thinks in irrational ways and it confuses logic with love and emotion? Definitely a great point, Tony. We don't talk about it enough, but if everything you're saying is right, which sure seems to be, what is this hook that he has with him? And don't you think that maybe, go back to what Dave had just picked. Yeah, exactly what Rich said, probably. But don't you think that Lurie, Dave, has other people around him? And I'm not just talking about other owners, but surely he has a network around him of all kinds of football people. And don't you think they're saying to him, what are you doing, man? What are you doing with this guy? Come on, they got to be saying that.
So Mike, when you are that powerful and have that much money, I don't think people tell you the truth.
You're right. They just yes him. Good point. Good point, Dave. Yeah.
You and I, we got into a little discussion with a media personality on Facebook, and I said to him that stop kissing their ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Because ultimately, listen, fellas, and this is to all our fans that watch us, and I love every single one of them and listen to us, but they're stealing our money. They're stealing our money, and they're robbing us of a product, and they're lying to us. When Jeffrey Lurie sits here and tells us we want to be the gold standard, you're not the gold standard when you have an employee for the last 10 years has been doing things not 100% positive for the factory that 50%. You so have.
See, I disagree.
How could you possibly disagree?
Here's how I disagree
with the inept ability from one person in this program.
Listen, this is how I disagree. I refuse to sit here and say that Jeffrey Lurie is stealing our money, and I'll tell you why. He's not the Miami Marlins, okay? Jeffrey Lurie, and I said this before on previous editions, that just because they picked the wrong guys doesn't mean he's not willing to spend money. Okay? He gave listen, Jay, last year, the year before, we were all on Carson Wentz. We would have gave up nobody complained. Okay, for the most part, what they gave up to get Carson Wentz. Nobody really complained for the most part when they gave him that contract. There was a percentage, maybe about 10 to 50%, that all said, I'm not sold on him yet, you gave him too much money. But for the most part, Jeffrey did what we wanted him to do. Give me a franchise quarterback, right? That's what he did. Go out, build up the defense. Right? Howie, we want defense. Javon Hargrove, Malik Jackson, Fletcher Cox, trade for Darius Slay. We wanted an elite offense. Go draft Miles Sanders, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Lock up Brandon Brooks. Lock up Jason Kelsey. Lock up Lane Johnson. Well, I will not agree with anybody saying that he's stealing our money, only because he's spending money. Stealing our money would be giving us an inferior product, okay, knowingly. He's not knowingly giving you an inferior product.
He's just incompetent, and he's just incompetent.
Exactly.
I think maybe what Dave meant to say was they're just they don't have a plan. They're just throwing anything at the wall, and hopefully something sticks like it did in 2017. That's what they're doing. There's no thought process behind this. They're not putting people in here to put the real procedures in the real processes in order to build a winning franchise. It's a complete joke. It's the laughing stock of the NFL. And you're right. I don't think he's purposely saying, I'm just going to grab all the fans' money and just grab it and hoard it. I don't think he's going to say that at all. The guy's always spent money from day one. He's always spent. But, even if he's not doing that, they're incompetent. And they got one guy that's just selling him a bill of goods and selling him snake oil and just keeping him on the hook. You're right. The guy is a complete genius.
And Dave, before you say anything, I just want to allude to Albert's comment because I want to get your point on this after your first rebuttal. Because I love that. Because I'm watching that. I want to poke my eyes out when Howie's saying, we have like 8 GMs on this team. There should be GMs in the NFL. Like all of a sudden now we're a GM factory. Like, what is he talking about?
And they all
we're
4-11-1.
Yeah, maybe they should hire Press Taylor as the next GM.
I mean, come on, God, Dave.
Give me a joke.
So listen, I get that you're spending money.
Here's your next GM.
You can't do that to me. You can't put his picture up.
I'm sorry.
I just totally lost the train.
It's hard to concentrate with that bonehead staring at you. I hear you.
So I understand your point of him spending money, but I go back to the one person that he's allowing to do this. And it's been 10 years worth of this guy. And that's, to me, is why you're stealing money. When you put all your eggs in one basket and you give it this guy, like let's go back to the Redskins. Daniel Snyder spent money, and he tried. So he wasn't stealing money. But the fact is that he also tried because he changed GMs when they didn't get it right.
Yeah.
There's the difference.
Everybody stole Snyder's money. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. Snyder tried. And he tried, and he changed GMs when they didn't get their shit together.
That's a good point.
We don't do that here. That's the problem. If Howie was true to his word that we're the gold standard, then you go out and get the gold standard GM. If that GM doesn't do the job, you go get another one that you think can do the job.
So who was the GM before Howie? Reed? Was it Andy Reid?
Joe Banner.
Banner.
But Dave, in Washington, wasn't that Bruce Allen? Mm-hmm. Wasn't he the GM?
Bruce Allen helped draft a lot of those defensive tackles.
Yeah, but didn't he have some kind of baggage? He got caught up in some kind of...
He did some things wrong.
Yeah. I mean, he was like Jim Irsay out in Indianapolis doing...
Did he get rid of him?
Doing 8 balls inside the club.
Did he get rid of him?
Tony will always remember the controversy associated with that coach or that player. He'll bring it up. Hey, that guy, he got busted for like his 5th DUI, like McNabb.
Yeah.
Driving down the street plastered.
Jim Irsay was doing 8 balls during the draft.
At the draft.
Yeah, just
maybe Howie should hang out with him.
We would have a good time.
Listen, he got rid of Bruce Allen though, correct?
Yes. But my point was, I think he had to get rid of him. I don't think he wanted to get rid of him. I think he had to get rid of him.
Yeah, he went all Marion Barry, dude. He went off the chain.
Oh, he got re-elected, Marion Barry.
Yeah, hey, another genius. Howie was probably his campaign manager.
He probably was.
Look, end of the day, we got to live with Howie. All right. First thing to address, Tone. What would you do? What's the first thing that gets the Eagles back on the right? I mean, you're Howie. What do you do? Let's just say you're competent Howie, or Howie does whatever you tell him to do. What are you going to tell him to do? What's order number one? Well,
Dave brought up real fast. Remember, we can't leave this guy out either. Because Washington. I mean, that was that was their head coach and Jay Gruden. So they got the wrong Gruden out there, right? So we're used to getting the wrong guy in Philadelphia. So finally, Daniel Snyder took the wrong guy in Jay Gruden out there.
He was a bonehead.
But honestly, Mike. The thing that's going to interest me is, number one, you have to figure out, this is where I disagree about a quarterback competition. You have to right now decide who you are rolling with, because the draft is going to be built around that player. The line is going to be built around that player. The culture is going to be built around that player. So you have to be all in with one of these guys. You have to. And that's why and I'll tell you what, I hope I'm wrong, but don't give me, because and this is what's going to really turn me off, is if they hire a defensive coordinator before they hire a head coach. Because that's just going to show you right there that this is going to be a lame duck head coach that comes in here, because he already does have a say on who he wants to pick with his staff. Okay? But I fully believe that you have to figure out, is it Carson or is it Jalen? And I honestly think, and that's the other thing, is why I had such an issue with the entire fourth quarter of the Nate Sudfeld effect. And you know what? Here, I don't want to get long-winded on this, but I'm glad Mike asked you what I would do, because it brought me in my mind that, Jeffrey Lurie sitting at that press conference talking about how great Nate Sudfeld was. We watched Nate practice, and he was phenomenal, and we knew he's going to be a great quarterback in this league. So I asked the question, okay? My question is, it fueled my point to, if If you sat there and had this, you said you and Doug had conversations about how great you knew Nate was on the practice field. Why'd you need to see him play? If you already know he's great, you say he's great. All of a sudden now he needs reps in week 17 because he earned it. He earned to go into a bullshit game. That's such a lame excuse. That just showed how dysfunctional they were and how idiotic that decision was. Completely idiotic. Okay, if you want to give him a bone, you let him start that game. You say we're rolling with Nate. Okay, we're going to let him go out in a blaze of glory. But you sat there and spent 10 minutes talking about how great of a quarterback he is. So, again, all bullshit. Again, that entire press conference was bullshit. But, Mike, to get back to your point, you pick the quarterback first, then you pick the coach, and you got to do it quick. We can't wait. You got to do it quick. We can't be waiting till April. We can't be waiting till March. This has to happen now. You have to assemble your squad because we're still in COVID. We're still in pandemic world. So we don't know what this draft is going to look like. We don't know what this offseason is going to look like. So you need to get your plan in place right now, which is why I agree with whoever it was up top who said, I think it was Al, who mentioned about Joe Banner saying they already have a plan in place. They know who the coach is going to be. They know who they want it to be, I should say. Not necessarily that means that person's going to want the job, but they know they already have an option A and an option B, and they're going full in. So that's what, Mike, it's quarterback. So I'll go to you, John. I'll kick and punt to you. What's the first move that this team has to do right now going forward for 2021?
I think you go hard for Bieniemy. I really do.
Wow.
Either that, I think Lincoln Riley's another experiment that it'll be short-lived. It's not going to be effective, and 3 years later, we're still talking. Should we get rid of Howie? Should we get rid of the coach? What's the problem? You know what I mean? So I think you go. Look, you get Bieniemy. Mahomes is a pure athlete, okay, but just the schemes that they run and just how they keep every defense on their toes, like just with what they do and how many different plays they could run out of the different formations. And then you have Mahomes, who's a special athlete and passer, not just runner. But with Hurts's mobility, Bieniemy could run a very similar offense in Philadelphia. And you got to look at it's still a promotion. And it's a big market team, all right? There's something to be said for that. It's stepping stones like anyone through their career. You start at the bottom, you know what I mean? You work your way up from, line coach to the coordinator. And oftentimes the ultimate goal is head coach. You don't, you know what I mean? You don't get to walk into the ultimate situation like you're going to walk into a vacant Sean Payton role. Or up in Green Bay where you have all these studs, you know what I mean, and just a vacancy. So, I mean, I think Bieniemy would be a good fit. I don't know if they go after him that hard, but that's what I would do.
That's a good point. I didn't think of the Bieniemy factor with looking at, the offense that they run with Patrick Mahomes. They have the big tight end in Kelsey, which is, again, I'm not saying Dallas Goedert is Travis Kelsey, but same kind of mold. Okay, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins. Obviously, you got to get that speedster. They think it's Jalen Reagor. I don't think it's Jalen Reagor, but at the end of the day, they are built like that, John. So that's a good point. And one thing I will say to that perspective is maybe they do know. Maybe it is Bieniemy. Maybe that's the guy they already know in their head. I wouldn't hate it. I just don't want to. I just hope that if it is Eric Bieniemy, that we don't go through the same kind of culture. I want a different kind of coach. And I honestly think that, seeing Bieniemy on that team, and he's got a voice. And I think he is going to be the hard-nosed guy to get up there in front of people and call them out and tell them when, the things need to change and not sugarcoat everything and everybody gets, not ask a question, do you want sprinkles on your ice cream cone, like Doug Pederson, right? So I don't think he's that kind of guy. So I think that's a good point. Dave, what are you fixing first?
Definitely has to be the coach. I think you allow the coach to pick who your quarterback's going to be. And to John, to your point, thanks to Gina Marie, I have some statistics on Eric Bieniemy and the Chiefs' offense, if you so want to hear them.
Yes.
Did she just telegraph them over? Did
Maybe.
she send you a fax with the stats?
She did her homework last night for me, just to let you guys know.
I love it.
So this is from Gigi right
Thanks,
here.
Gigi.
She's got Eric Bieniemy, current offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, has one of the greatest offenses in NFL history. Chiefs offense was first in total yards per game with 415.8 this season under EB, sixth in 2019 and first in 2018, and has led the NFL with 406.9 yards per game over the past 3 seasons. If we get EB, he could work with Wentz or even develop Hurts. He also played running back for the Eagles in 1999 under Andy Reid.
So let me ask you though, Dave. Great stats. So as you continue to pontificate on your point here, I'll use a Mikey Miss word. But
nice,
right? Yeah, he likes that word. He likes pontificate, and he likes what's the other word that Mikey Miss always uses? Acumen.
A-hole.
Acumen. He loves acumen. Must be a lawyer term. Loves acumen. But I have to ask you this. So, what would you say is the reason why, if those stats are that ridiculously good, why is he not be considered as a head coach?
Because everybody knows that Andy Reid calls the plays.
Exactly.
That's
my point.
So, but here's the thing: you're the pupil. You're the pupil to the teacher, and that doesn't mean like I would be okay with Eric Bieniemy because I don't believe he would be a puppet. I believe he would come in and demand because he already knows how to be successful. He's watched Andy Reid build a program from drafting offensive linemen to picking the right defensive coordinator to developing the young quarterback. So to John's point, out of all the candidates that have a pedigree, if you will, or a background, he's played in the league. So that gets respect, number one, right up front from the men, right? He's been around a coach that has won a Super Bowl and has been successful. And he's been the second guy for the last several years upon this successful offense. So if you have any chance of a guy coming in here and putting Howie in his place and saying, look, I'm not coming in here not to be successful. You're going to give me the tools I need to get him. We're going to draft a certain way. If you want to hire me, this is how it's going to go. We're going to draft this way. We're going to call the games this way. We're going to select this defensive coordinator because of this. He'll be prepared. Andy Reid got the job here from Jeffrey Lurie because he was the most prepared candidate. Eric Bieniemy will be exactly that. So
that's a good point.
If you want me to tell you what we do first, you pick a coach, and I'm perfectly okay with Eric Bieniemy, and that's how things get done.
So before I ask Googs here, I will ask you this because Andy Reid's not getting any younger. So my point is, one or two guys is going to be the heir apparent in Kansas City, and one of those guys is going to be the Josh McDaniels of Kansas City, right? It's going to be Kafka or it's going to be Bieniemy. So the only reason why I would think maybe Bieniemy doesn't go anywhere is maybe, listen, I'll tell you what. If Kansas City wins this year, I think Andy Reid retires. I think he hangs it up. It's been a rough year for him. With all these protocols, he's not getting any younger. The dude gets 2 rings. Listen, I'm just saying. I think that we better not count our chickens before they're hatched, so to speak, with the Eric Bieniemy factor, because I think Bieniemy is probably the better play for Kansas City to take over for Andy Reid. So that's why I just don't think he's going anywhere. What do you think, Mike?
Andy Reid's going anywhere?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, Andy Reid's had a rough life. What happened to his son. And Andy Reid's an old school style of coach in the sense that no matter how much we killed Andy Reid for some of his decisions, that dude slept on an air mattress in a NovaCare center and barely had any sleep, which is probably why his health declined to the fact that he blew up like a balloon. okay? Because I know he was eating a lot, but he wasn't getting a proper rest. He was an animal, and that works. And then his son, we know what happened, well documented, sucks. Whenever you lose a family member like that, he was challenging himself, saying, I wasn't around enough, I wasn't involved. So I just think that eventually, nobody can coach forever. And I just think this kind of brings it all in perspective, that if they do win a ring, even though I don't think they will this year, but if they do, I think he could step away, and I think I could take Eric Bieniemy off the table. Just my thoughts. What do you think, Mike? What are you fixing first?
It sounds like, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be Lincoln Riley. I just think they're going to go in a different direction. They already poached a coach from Kansas City before with Pederson. And I know you sort of flipped it around when you had said that, maybe Andy Reid kind of cuts him off and says, look, you kind of did Doug dirty. But the flip side of that is maybe Jeffrey Lurie is like, you gave me this stiff? Howie won me my Super Bowl. This guy didn't do anything. It was Nick Foles that suggested the Phillies. Who knows what goes on? We're all speculating and throwing these crazy theories out. So might as well just throw this one out. I don't think they're going to go in the same direction. I think they're going to go back, and I think they're going to grab somebody that built something that has a lot of success in the college ranks. This is the new sexy pick. Remember when we got Chip Kelly? Remember everybody wanted to freak out. Whoa, we got Chip Kelly. It was such a big deal, and everybody was talking about the Eagles again. And I really think that image and how Jeffrey Lurie is perceived is really big for him. When he signed Michael Vick, when Vick was going through all that trouble, Jeffrey Lurie was the guy that had the press conference with Vic, and everybody deserves a second chance. And, Lurie likes to be that guy that's perceived as, generous, caring, very empathetic. Remember when Chip Kelly was, when he was released and he had that big conference saying, you got to open your hearts and emotional intelligence. He's always like that fixer, that guy that with all of the fluff. And I'm not saying that's not needed, but I just think that he wants to be the center of attention. I don't like when other sports teams get the Eagles' attention because this is an Eagles city. Remember when the Phillies were just crushing it in the middle of that Phillies, our little mini dynasty that we had from, 2006 all the way to 2011, right? Nobody talked about the Eagles. It was all Phillies. It was Phillies, 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 right? And the diehards that really love baseball, and then really love football, there's a little bit of that internal struggle or that tension. And I think that they, I think looking at the overall big picture, I think they want to make a splash. And I think Lincoln Riley's the splash. That's my guess.
I think you're right. I do. Rich Texan says the Lord wants to make a splash. It's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood, baby. It's exactly, Rich. Now, again, if like I said, we wake up tomorrow and we see that Deuce Staley was hired, I would not be one bit surprised or shocked. Okay, because it just feels like every time they need to make a big decision, they just screw it up.
So, yeah, you're right. It is true. So I would say two things. One thing, and I want to give you guys, throw a little curveball here and see what you guys think. So one thing I will say is I think that entire press conference alluded to Lincoln Riley. And again, just the way that Jeff was talking, Jeff is looking at guys like Cliff Kingsbury, Sean McVay. He's looking around the league. He's looking at those quarterbacks, and he's saying, wow, if I get one of these innovative thinkers again. But
yeah, he's dreaming.
Right. But he's not going to go to Chip Kelly route. He's saying to himself, I'm not giving him the power this time. I'm not putting baby in the corner. Okay, like you did with Howie, like Chip did. I learned from that. But I still think that I could get an innovative thinker in here, bring him onto this culture, and have him succeed. I just don't know if Lincoln Riley, gives up that Nick Saban kind of role he has. We talked about this with the Sixers. Why would Jay Wright want to leave Villanova? He's a god. Do whatever he wants. Why would you, unless it's a challenge? And maybe Lincoln Riley wants to be challenged, and he has this guy in Jalen Hurts here. I don't know. Let me ask you guys this. Kevin checking in. Danny Green ties Sixers record with 9 threes tonight. Wow, that's a nice update. I know Al and Andre were talking about that earlier. Said he was on fire tonight. So nice to see him get into that realm because we talked about that on Half Court Heat. He just needed to get his legs back, and I think he's getting them now. But let me ask you guys this, because I know I'm going to start it off and tell you who I would. So we remember we've seen coaches in the NFL get traded for draft picks. We've seen it happen. So hypothetically, and I know that we absolutely need all our draft picks. I know they're not going this route because you heard Jeffrey say we have to compile draft picks, which again is exactly what we talked about last week. Mike, you weren't here, but I alluded to the fact, and these guys agreed that with all these restructurings for especially a guy like Malik Jackson, I think symbols that Fletcher Cox is gone. Because I think these are the compiling of draft picks that Jeffrey Lurie is talking about. What can I get for Zach Ertz? What can I get, for Fletcher Cox? What can I get? What can I get for Carson Wentz? If that gives me 6 picks, 7 picks, I don't know, a combination, that's how we start to rebuild. If there was one coach in the NFL, say, let's just for the sake about it, say you had an extra first-round pick this year. Okay, you had the number 6 pick and you had the number 25 pick. And obviously you're going to keep the 6th pick and you're going to take, hopefully, a stud at any position. You could trade that number 25 pick for any coach presently in the NFL right now. Who are you bringing to the Philadelphia Eagles? Who is the guy that you want to be your coach for the next? And here's the catch. Jeffrey Lurie said 2 to 3 to 5 years. So let's do a 5-year period. You're going to pick a guy who's going to be here for the next 5 years and rebuild this franchise. Who are you giving? Number 25. Googs, I'm going to go right to you. Who's the coach that you're bringing here for that number 25 pick?
I can pick anybody I want.
Any present coach right now.
I take Sean Payton.
Damn, we are on the same page, bro.
Yeah, I don't like the guy either. Trust me, I can't stand that guy.
Look,
but
trifecta.
I would take Sean Payton.
Me too.
I mean, look, the proof, right? The guy has all the proof there. Look what he did. Look what he continues to do. And whether you like the guy or not, I think it's a no-brainer. And I'm very partial to. I know Sean McVay hasn't done a lot. I know you're not a big fan of him. I really like Sean McVay. I think he's going to be around for a while. He's a very innovative coach. Players seem to like him, and he seems to know what he's doing. He puts good people around him. So I like Sean McVay. But my first pick would be Peyton.
I'm with you. John, are you in the same?
Yep.
I love Sean Payton. I do. You know what I love about Sean Payton is he's an innovative thinker, and he allows himself to change within the times. And not only does he change, he's ahead of the curve. And that's what I love about him. He was running the Sean McVay style offense before Sean McVay was even graduating high school.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
You think about that. This was Sean Payton's game. And if I'm not, wasn't Sean Payton traded for? For some reason, I swear Sean Payton was. I gotta look that up, but I'm pretty sure Sean Payton. John, can you look that up for us? Was Sean Payton? Did the New Orleans Saints trade for Sean Payton? No. Who am I thinking of?
John Gruden was traded.
Maybe I'm thinking of Gruden. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking of Gruden. But yeah, I'm all in on Sean Payton, man. Dave, who you trading for, man?
It's easy for me, and it's not Sean Payton. It'd be Mike Tomlin.
Ooh,
I'm going to take Mike Tomlin every day.
I like Omar.
I think Mike Tomlin is,
good call.
A lot of things in the NFL, and I think he relates to the players well, and I think the players love him, and I honestly think that he's top 5, if not the top coach in the NFL. To be honest with you, and I don't even mean wins and losses type of things. I think how he deals with the personalities and how he deals like on a professional level and everything he does. I'm a big Mike Tomlin fan.
You couldn't handle it. All you Eagles fans, man, you wouldn't have a coach to yell at.
Oh, yeah. No, here's the difference. We don't sit back and not yell, John. We yell no matter what. We don't sit back and say, you might be right. No, we yell first and then prove us wrong.
Well, Tomlin has his down trades too. But I wasn't going to say
human.
I wasn't going to say Tomlin because I didn't want you guys getting any ideas.
Yeah, right.
So for you guys, I think Sean Payton's a good fit. For you guys, for me, it's Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, well, that's why. Listen, I'm telling you, I've admired him from afar for a long time. I think he's genuinely just a good human, and I think he's excellent for the NFL. I just admire his coaching style. I really do. I think that here's what a true leader does to me. See, Sean Payton calls the plays, and he's very, very innovative, and I personally don't like Sean Payton. That's just I just don't like his style. I like Mike Tomlin because he allows his coaches to coach. He accepts the role as head coach. He's not a coordinator on the offense or the defense. He's a true head coach as far as that goes. And I think he's an excellent motivator. And I think think about how many draft picks come into Pittsburgh, young players, and come and play immediately. That has a lot to do with the head coach and his confidence in playing these guys and developing these players a certain way. That's Mike Tomlin. That's exactly what our organization needs.
That's for sure.
No, you're right. I talked about that before. You need somebody that's willing to throw the gavel down when they have to. A guy that's going to make those tough decisions, and he does not want to be everybody's friend, or he doesn't want to be Mr. Softy. I get that 100%. Al says, "What has Peyton done? He has only won Super Bowl, has lost a lot of playoff games, and his teams have been too good not to have more rings." Number one, you have to at least get one. And what he's been able to do, stand the test of time, in my opinion, through the trials and tribulations of the NFL, especially during that ravaged season with Hurricane Katrina, with that town. I just, listen, if he wouldn't have won one, be different. But he won one. You ask any coach that not only is it hard to win one, but it's even harder to win two. And that's what makes Michael Jordan better than LeBron James, Al, because he won 6. How's that? So we'll talk about that on Sunday. I had to throw that in there because I know you'll love that. But
does Sean Payton beat the Patriot or the Packer or Tampa Bay this weekend?
Does Sean Payton beat the laser tag genius?
Yeah.
Head coach Bruce Arians for Tampa Bay.
Did you see it this weekend?
Yes. Mike, when you texted me, I was like in and out, but I was like, what? Like, it looked even bigger.
Now he has some kind of he's got some sort of a device now strapped to his back. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm saying to my wife, and I'm like, what is this? She's like, why are you so obsessed with it? I just want to know what it is. I want to know why every other coach in the league doesn't have this. Nobody. And now it's getting bigger.
Yes.
But I think that was the upgraded model. he upgraded.
That was
like
the 5G one. Yeah. It was 5G.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like back in the day when you went from like the small cable receiver to like the DVR. Like all of a sudden now this dude, he's got a DVR strapped to his chest.
Yeah, he's wearing a bag phone on his back. It's like a cellular version of a bag phone. Seriously. I mean, do you ever see what the coaches wear? I know they wear some sort of a transmitted device that clips onto their belt, and you can only see them from, I guess, their waist up. Are we sure that maybe they're all wearing that? We just can't see it, and he just straps it on his back?
I don't know, man.
How do we find out? We should email the Bucks and find out what it is. We should just send him an email.
We should, man.
We're very concerned about Coach Arians. We want to know if he's is that a incendiary device or an explosive device on his back?
I'll reach out to the PR department and say we have a problem here.
Yeah, we want to know.
Yeah, we want to set the record straight. That's all. Set the record straight.
Actually, you should see if we could sponsor his thing. Get Heat Ratio Sports on that.
Put a sticker on the back of it.
We just want to know what device that is because we would like to pay you for advertising.
That's not a bad idea. We should put Heat Ratio sticker on the back of that processor that he's wearing.
Oh, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. I would love it.
I saw it, and the first person I thought of was.
I know. As soon as I got it, I was like,
I texted you. I'm like, what the hell?
Al wants this Rams offense, man. Wentz would run that offense way better than Goff. Listen, The one thing I could say is, remember when we had all these disagreements of back and forth about who was better, Wentz or Goff, who got the better guy? Who knows now? I mean, who knows?
We were all saying Goff was a stiff.
Yes,
we were all saying
of us.
Everybody.
And I still don't think he's very good. I don't.
I think Goff has had year after year better weapons around him than Carson has. I mean, we can argue that point all you want, tit for tat, but that's just my opinion. In the years that they've been in the league together, you look at Rams' offensive players, and you look at Carson's players. I believe that the Rams have had better playmakers than Carson.
They have 100%. I mean, but I will go back to the draft picks. The more I sit here and think about it. Again, I'm not changing Sean Payton, but because just for the sake of argument, or we got some time left here, I'll throw a sleeper out there to a guy who I gave no credit to whatsoever, and he's completely proved me wrong 100%. Is Sean McDermott, and I have to say it because, and it's more than what I see on the field, and I'll tell you what, if you guys, anybody out there listening, if you haven't had a chance, I've been trying to reach out to certain reporters, and I do one-on-one spotlight interviews with them from time to time. And, Alexa Ross is a Philly girl. She's a Philly native, Temple-owned, covers the Buffalo Bills. I sat and had a 30-minute conversation with her of all 20 minutes Bills, 10 minutes Eagles. And she took me inside of that Buffalo roster. From GM to head coach to offensive coordinator to offensive line, and the culture, and I say that word very strongly, that Sean McDermott has built on that team. They are, we see what's going on in the NBA right now with COVID regulations. We see what happened to guys like Dwayne Haskins. How much of an idiotic move that was. Your coach, for Christ's sake, just beat cancer. Has one of the most susceptible immune systems in the world, and you go out and you got to make it rain on a Friday night. Are you kidding me? You deserve to get trashed. Okay, but you look at McDermott. How many issues has the Buffalo Bills had this year? 0. They have been all good, and he has brought. She made a good point, and if you give her a follow at Alexa Ross TV on Twitter, she made a good point about Stephon Diggs, who Stephon Diggs was not talked about as a really good teammate, was not talked about in a good spotlight, and like she said, he's been a soldier for McDermott out there in Buffalo. He's been a good soldier for Josh Allen, and he's probably the one that's been fueling this entire success that they've had in 2020. So, my point is, guys like that, I always thought McDermott was better suited to be a defensive coordinator. He was never going to be able to control an entire team. And, Stephon Diggs, whatever you want to call him, I mean, he has just showed to me that he commands that presence. So I would definitely trade my 25th pick for Sean McDermott if I had to. But let's talk about, we got about 15 minutes.
Remember when he was here, we used to wreck him? When he was in the Eagles, we used to destroy him. Look at his dopey. We used to call him Ron Howard.
Right.
Now he's like one of the greatest coaches in the league. We used to call him Ron. Look at his little Ron Howard lookalike.
He actually has a side profile of Richie Cunningham, if you look at it. But from Happy Days. But if you look, dude, the next time you see a side profile, think of Richie Cunningham.
I will.
And Doug looks like the Fonz.
Yes, Henry Winkler. In the water boy with the tattoo on his ass.
I played against Sean McDermott, Tony, in high school. Sean McDermott is a LaSalle kid.
No kidding.
He played safety. He played safety for LaSalle, and he also was Mike Tomlin's roommate at William and Mary.
Wow, I did not know that.
How's that for trivia?
Yep, they both played defensive back.
I love
that.
I
played against him he was at LaSalle, and he was an excellent wrestler, and he played safety. He played defensive back at LaSalle, and I played for Connor Doherty. Yeah, we played against each other.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
See, I love hearing that kind of stuff because
man, for sure.
That brings you back. it brings you back to just where these guys' roots are grown, and there is a ton of Philly roots out there, man. Ton.
Yeah. Stefanski right now. He's a St. Joe's Prep guy, Penn guy. His dad was the Sixers GM or
Ed
whatever.
Stefanski.
That's right. That's his father.
Absolutely.
So, there's a lot of Philly roots. Andy Reid, obviously, we know. I would love Andy Reid to retire from head coaching and come back here as the GM for the Philadelphia Eagles.
If he did, we still wouldn't get any linebackers.
He did draft Jeremiah.
Yeah, he did, but he also drafted Andy Studebaker too.
Studebaker?
Yeah.
Who the hell?
Go back, Andy Studebaker.
He was a stud.
Yeah. Quentin Caver.
That's what I was going to say. Quentin Caver. He was a second rounder, wasn't he?
Yeah, man.
He was a
Barry
second
Gardner.
Stiff. Barry Gardner.
Listen to me. At least he drafted him. This guy doesn't even draft him.
Yeah, at least he. That's a good point, dude. At least he tried. We're going to try to get a linebacker.
Yeah, just like Jeffrey tried to pay the right guys.
Stop it.
Did
Jeffrey try it or did Howie try it? Who we give credit to?
All right, let's swing real fast. We listen. We're gonna end because we're gonna get to the music in about 5 minutes. Let's just talk real fast. Let's touch on what's left. Again, Dave, I gotta call you out, man. I gotta call you out because you were talking about. You threw the group text about Cleveland, and I say, my boy Baker, the first he said, has nothing to do with Baker. 3 turnovers. Well, last time I checked, that game in the second half had everything to do about Baker Mayfield being a disciplined quarterback and making plays and throws that he needed to make. So I think you need to give me a little love for my boy Baker. And Al, that's right. Baker's my boy. John, shaking your head. Come on, man. You got to give Baker some love here.
So this is I will. But at the point I told, it was 28-0, and Baker Mayfield didn't. He was 5 for 6 for 60 yards.
Yes.
And it was 28-0 in the first quarter with 3 minutes left. That's why I said Baker had nothing to do with it.
I know, but you didn't come back and give him any love afterwards either.
So I will give Baker love right now. And listen, I will go on the record when I say that, and you guys know this. I was on the board saying that they should have drafted
Saquon,
and then came back with the 4th pick and got Josh Allen, right? So, but here's Baker Mayfield. The maturation process of Baker has been phenomenal this year. But let's understand, too, Baker Mayfield, and I'm not comparing this to Carson, but he's got an excellent offensive line, and he's got 2 stud running backs, 2 of them, and he's got an excellent tight end and an excellent wideout. So, but here's the deal. Baker has made plays with his legs and his arm. I don't think people realize how strong that little kid's arm is. He is Drew Brees with a stronger arm. That's what he proved to me in that game. And down the stretch when he had to beat Baltimore, he beat Baltimore, right? So
yes.
I'm anxious to see this game because I think if any team can knock off KC, which I think obviously it's an unbelievable task, the running game of Cleveland and Baker making throws when he needs to could possibly be just the formula to take over KC. So Baker did it. Baker has matured tremendously. So that's what I'll say about Baker.
He has. You're right. John?
What doesn't he have, though?
What
doesn't Baker Mayfield have this year that he had last year?
Apparently at home with all those Geico commercials. He lives in Cleveland Stadium.
Yeah, I still think he may live there.
He doesn't have Odell Beckham.
Right? Yeah, he doesn't have Odell. Imagine if they did have Odell Beckham, because you saw what they looked like at the beginning of the year. But you know what? He doesn't have the stiff of all stiffs. One of my favorite stiffs, Freddie Kitchens, calling the shots.
Dude, I think
that guy's a mess.
A celebrity death match between Marty Morningweg and Freddie Kitchens.
They might be the same people.
I'm telling you, was that the all-time worst hire ever?
It was a pretty bad one. It was a pretty bad one because now you see that team always had, they had a lot of talent, man. They were picking in the first round for decades, It's just like sooner or later somebody had to put it all together.
Oh, and by the way, we know who hired him, right?
Who?
John Dorsey, who is here right now, consulting Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh yeah, that's something we didn't even talk about. That guy's been a colossal failure. Look what he did to the Browns, and we brought him in, and he just came in quietly, and nobody said anything about this dude.
Yep, but he's our consultant.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring in Freddie Kitchens for an interview.
Maybe Freddie can run the offense. Good old Freddie boy. You know what I mean? So, John, you were shaking your head, man, when I started talking about Baker. Okay, you got to help me out here. What's wrong? I know you don't have no love for Baker. He beat your boys. What are you gonna do?
I haven't had love for Baker before. I didn't have love. He can play well. He does not show up for 16 games. If he has to make a clutch throw, I don't feel that he could do it. If he's under pressure, I don't feel that he can make the throws. If he has to come back in a game, I don't feel that he's a quarterback that can do it. That's my point. You put a quarterback up by 28 points, and you see how wide open the guys were? The Steelers were without Joe Hayden. No, I'm not making excuses. All right, and they ended up losing Highsmith. That was after the 28-point lead, but they ended up losing Bud Dupree's replacement to an injury. I'm saying first game they haven't had a sack, and I can't remember how long they're without their. I mean, Baker was hitting guys. There was nobody around him for like 3-4 yards. It's not like he was sneaking the ball in there and actually had something to play for. He knew he was playing relaxed, and if he plays relaxed, that's fine. If it's a really crucial game, crunch time, I think he breaks. I don't think he can do it, and that's my stance.
No, listen.
And until he proves me otherwise,
you'll be right. I can see it 100%.
He played great in some of those games. He impressed me with the comeback against Baltimore, but he can't consistently do it. Like, that's why, I mean, look, this game was an anomaly. All right, the Steelers didn't play. Cleveland showed up to play. But in general, all you have to do, it's almost like Brady. But he can't play when he's getting pressure in his face. All right, and you can't let him roll out either because he'll beat you with his legs, no doubt. So you have to respect that. But that's the Steelers were built for that matchup with the two edge rushers. You know what I mean? That's the same reason why I'm not really afraid to play Lamar Jackson. He can't beat us with his arm, and as long as you can contain him to some extent, you're stopping. You keep them two ends to contain him inside. Stop the run, stop the run, stop the run, stop the run. That's all it is. Pound it in your head. And typically the Steelers are built for that. But you know what I mean? That's where matchups come into play.
No, you're 100% correct with that. Lamar Jackson, you can say what you want, but in my opinion, he's regressed as a thrower. And he is 100% relegated to rushing the ball at first sight. Last year, what made him so deadly was his pass-first mentality. Now, again, I don't know if that has to do with the guys surrounding him with the trust that he has, because at the beginning of the year, guys like Hollywood Brown were not getting open and weren't catching the ball. Mark Andrews had some drop problems. So I don't know if he decided I just need to take over and now he can't get it out of his head, but he's not going to be able to rush for 137 yards every game. And they're going to, and not throw for one touchdown and maybe 100 yards and then win. It's just not going to happen. Eventually, it's going to change. It just 100% is going to change. Not in the playoffs. You cannot win like that in the playoffs. So let me ask you guys this before we get out of here and get some music going. With the games left, I still feel, in my opinion, it's Green Bay and Buffalo in the Super Bowl. So I'll just throw it out there, Dave. Right now, we're going into the championship, divisional weekend. But who do you see? Is your original Super Bowl prediction before last weekend the same as it is right now?
Yeah. Now, I mean, I got a heart one and I got a head one. So,
all right, what's the heart?
My heart is I want to see Tampa Bay versus Kansas City. That's what I want to see.
And what's your head say?
My head says it's going to be New Orleans, and Kansas City.
Wow. So you think Sean Payton's going back to the big dance?
Yes.
I like it.
He will lose by 3 touchdowns to the Kansas City Chiefs.
So that offense gets, it's funny that you say that because when we were talking about this last week, and it brings back a good point that I never brought up, but I think the wild card, is a defensive coach in this entire playoffs, and that's Dennis Allen, who I've talked about before, who has had a tremendous run as a defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. They added a lot of pieces. I know Alexander got hurt, but still, what he's been able to do out there with that secondary, with that defensive line, with that linebacker core, he listen. If anybody can contain Patrick Mahomes in a big game, it could be Dennis Allen. So I do like that pick, and we obviously love Sean Payton, as you heard. So, Mike, Super Bowl right now. What are you thinking, man?
I like the Bills.
Who they playing?
I gotta say Green Bay.
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, I have to say Green Bay's coming out of the NFC, right? I mean, they just look like the complete package. I don't know. I'd rather bet on Aaron Rodgers than anybody else. I think that I think Tom Brady's going to fizzle out. But I just don't think that they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna get there. I think you're gonna see the Bills somehow. They're gonna beat Kansas City, I guess, and they're gonna wind up playing the Packers. That's my pick.
I like it. John, what are you thinking, buddy?
I don't even remember who I picked. Did we pick last week?
No. I was just hypothetically thinking. What you were going in. Has it changed? That's all.
Oh no. Still the 1 and 2 seeds out of both conferences. It's kind of even like betting odds. Like I keep swaying a little bit, thinking I was more on Buffalo a little bit before the Indy game. I'm kind of leaning more towards KC now in the AFC, or not the Indy game. They did play Indy, Buffalo, and I'm kind of leaning New Orleans over Green Bay, because I like their defense a little bit better.
New Orleans is more of a complete team than Green Bay is, in my opinion.
Yeah, better defense.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. I'll give you that 100%. I just think the numbers that Aaron Rodgers is putting up this year.
This is crazy.
It is. It could be the best year of his career.
Yeah.
And we all, and I don't mean that on this show. I'm just saying we all kind of questioned, is he going to be okay? I mean, is him and LaFleur going to be able to get along? Is he worried about Jordan Love? Or Bryce? We had so many questions about Aaron Rodgers, and he just put them all to shame. I will say this, and Dave will like this. It is a big difference when you have a guy like Devontae Adams that you get to throw to that just gets open on command.
This is true.
That dude just gets and we did see that here when we brought in T.O. And McNabb just went ape shit.
Yeah.
And what that connection could have been for years to come, I kick it over. But Dave, you mentioned before we get to the music, I started off with some Jigsaw Chronicles talking about the lunch meat counter. You mentioned you may have had something, and it hasn't come up with the show because I know you were fired up about the Eagles, and we got to that. Just kind of off topic. What was your scenario that you had brewing over there?
My wife had us going out shopping for furniture, and when we shop for furniture, it is we don't shop new furniture because I'm a guy that doesn't like new furniture because it's not real wood. It's put together 74 pieces.
You're like my father-in-law.
So I'm a guy that likes old furniture, and she's okay with painting, and we refinish. So the boys needed new furniture. Well, that turned into like a giant fight, and we bought furniture, and then it was 6 pieces of furniture, and then we painted it over the weekend, And then she bought the wrong paint, and I didn't know Sean wanted blue on it. It's not supposed to be blue, and it was a huge battle between her and I, and it was all over furniture and redoing furniture, and it was unbelievable. At the end of the day, it was great for the kids, and it worked out, and it was done well. So, but it was like a wrestling match. It was unbelievable.
I'll tell you, man. I hate furniture shopping. I don't think there's anything I hate. And you know what I hate? I'm that guy. Listen, for anybody listening, if you are a furniture salesman, if I walk in the door and you're up my ass, bro, forget it. I'm out. Okay? So, like, do not follow me around. Do not ask me, can I help you? Just browsing. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right, my name's John. Need me? Give me a call. No problem, John. I'll come get you if I need you. I don't need to see you lurking behind the palm tree. I don't need you. And you see it too. They lurk, and then when you make eye contact with them, they act like, oh man, just see me. Let me act like I'm polishing off the table or something. Like idiots. Like stop. If I want to buy something, I'll buy it. But it's just it's excruciating. I went out and I bought new furniture. A love seat and a sofa, and I swear to God, I might as well just went out and bought a Maserati. Like, for real. Like, it was like I had to look at every goddamn pattern, every color. Let's sit on, like, I don't really care. And the whole thing is, like, I'm being honest. I don't care. I'm going to fall asleep on it, right? I'm going to I don't even care. Like, it doesn't matter. Well, what color do you like? I don't know. Well, what do you think? How about blue? Well, I really don't like blue. Then what the hell did you ask me for? Why am I even saying anything? Like, it's like, I feel you, Dave. I do. I hate going furniture shopping. I just got a new bed about 6 months ago, and that was a horrific experience. Let me tell you.
World War.
It is, and I don't feel right. Dudes like lay on the bed. No. I don't feel right. Like, number one, it's COVID. Just wrap me up in a big Trojan then and throw me on a bed because I don't want no kind of germs on me whatsoever. You know what I mean? But you want me to feel the bed. I don't want to feel the bed. I don't really. And they're like, well, what do you think? I'm like, let her lay on it. She's the one with the bad back, not me. I could fall asleep like in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Like a dump truck going through a nice crystal implant. I could fall asleep through anything. It could be freaking Iraq outside. I'm falling asleep. Doesn't matter. So, yeah, I listen, the whole experience, I wish I could just sit in my house, order everything on a computer, have it delivered, and be done. I don't want to go anywhere for that kind of stuff. Zero. But.
Well said.
Yeah, we'll just end it at that. As you can see, the littlest topics turn into, as I call them, Jigsaw Chronicles. I can't help myself. I can't wait. I already have the next 4 shows of the things I want to start off and talk about because there's something that's been brewing in my mind for months. I can't wait to bring it up on this show. But let's get into music. Okay, we end this show. We're at the 2-hour limit. We said this was going to be a 2-hour show, and I think actually this was a very calm 2 hours, which I enjoyed. I think we got a lot of great points, a lot of great interaction. It was great. Listen, we're going to be going through this for the next 4 to 5 months. So get used to it, everybody. This is what we're going to be talking about. Luckily, we have the Sixers playing well, even though they're not winning.
They beat the Heat tonight.
Yeah. They beat the Heat. The last 2 games were a joke, but we were able to see the young kids play, which is good. That's what it's all about right now. But, John, did you move the CD rack closer to you?
Boom, right
you
there.
have it close again.
Yeah, I didn't see it back there. I was curious.
Last week, Mike, you moved it closer to him. So we had some interesting picks last week, Mike. So Al's already in there. He's got 315. I'm going to go with, I like to say days where rack. I'm going to go with the rack. I want to go big today. I want to go.
He's going big.
Let's go 230. 230, I'm going.
All right, so who was the first one?
Al had 315.
All right, we got some Naughty by Nature.
Yo, is that Poverty's Paradise? What one is that? That's not 1993.
I don't recognize that one.
Holiday.
Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Naughty by Nature, one of the most underrated rappers of all time. No,
This is 1999.
No, Mike?
Really?
Yes. Yes. Huge hits, bro. Huge hits.
Nothing was bigger than OPP. That was the biggest.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Uptown Anthem.
Uptown Anthem was good.
Soundtrack?
Uptown Anthem was my favorite from the Juice soundtrack. Yeah, for sure. For the hardcore guys. I mean, but at the commercial, the OPP went crazy. Feel My Flow was
Feel
pretty
My
big.
Flow. That beat, that was a sick beat. But my favorite was Everything's Gonna Be All Right.
Another one that was huge.
Remember the beginning of that? Remember Doctor, another ghetto bastard.
That's right.
Another,
that's
remember?
right.
Oh, it was a great song, man. Great song, man.
Great.
Uptown Anthem was fantastic.
Still listen to that.
Yes, Naughty's on the on the repeat on plenty of my Spotify playlists. I can tell you that.
The soundtrack for Juice was up there with the soundtrack from New Jack City.
Yes, yeah, that was when soundtracks were huge. Remember Dead Presidents? That soundtrack was tremendous, right? You had a lot of great soundtracks back in the day.
Dead Presidents, yeah.
Dead Presidents. By the way, just got my media passes for the I'm getting an interview at Wendy Williams and Salt and Pepper this week. So
no kidding.
On Thursday. So virtual, obviously. Should be interesting. They're coming. I'll tell you what, Wendy Williams documentary coming out. Check it out. It's good, which is great. Being on the press list now, I get everything before it comes out. So I literally watched them both already. They give you passwords. It's pretty neat, man. You go in there, they give you passwords, so only you're allowed to view it. But really, really good documentary coming up.
That's pretty amazing. Congrats, man. That's great.
Thanks, man. That's fun.
I did want to reach out and ask you something because, and I texted you this other day. I think I did. You may have missed it, though. But I actually have connected with somebody, a friend of mine, knows Scott Storch pretty well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to float something out there that if he can get in touch with my publicist, Tony, and see if you can have him, kind of dial in or be a guest.
Oh, dude, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, he would be amazing. He's actually doing a comeback now. So he's getting back into producing. He's like really getting back there. So, if he wants to get on with, some really big fans of his music and just, ask him some questions and just kind of see what he's up to, man, it would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be tremendous. 15, 20 minutes, whatever. Here's the thing. We would probably bring him on for 15 minutes, but I think he would be impressed by our music encyclopedia in our minds.
Yeah.
That this would probably go on for hours.
Right. Oh yeah. When we first started with him, for sure. Because I dug further into him. He has so many. His work is there's just so much of this stuff that you would hear and you would never have known it was him behind those beats.
No, not at all. Al, Rich, thanks, man. Congrats. I appreciate it. Yeah, I bust my ass every day trying to get these opportunities. I'll tell you what, it ain't easy, but it's fun. It's fun, man. It's fun. What's that?
Wendy Williams. She was on Power 99. She was great.
Yes.
I like Wendy.
That's how I remember Wendy Williams.
Well, this is her documentary. It's called What a Mess. Like, she is a mess right now.
Yeah, right now she is.
Yeah, for her divorce. But was there anybody bigger than Wendy Williams?
Not in Philadelphia. She was the biggest.
Power 99, Wendy Williams, man. That was it. Wendy was the queen. She was a queen of radio. She was a queen of entertainment, especially in Philadelphia. So it's amazing, man. Amazing. John, what's my pick? What did I get for 2:30?
Make me say,
Master P. Wait, what am I thinking of? Hold on for a second. I heard, Master P.
Never got into Master P. I don't know why.
Yeah, he was interesting, right? Interesting individual. Hootie Hoo. I mean, he had like the Master P, the militia, but he wants to something with Allen Iverson. There's a connection I read about Master P and Allen Iverson. Master P was buying. I gotta figure it out. As we do some of the next selections, but he's doing something with AI. He wants to make AI like his shoe. Or I think he's buying Reebok. Master P was buying Reebok.
I heard about something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Master P. Yes, is looking to buy Reebok.
All right, you remember that song?
What's that, Mike? What was that?
Listen.
Oh yes, I like that beat, man.
Of course you do. Who did it?
Scott Storch.
Yep.
I love that beat, man.
Scott Storch did it. It's just, when you dig into him, you'll read the track that he did, and you can immediately hear the connection between his work that was so tied in with that Dre 2001 Chronic sound. You could pick out his stuff from a mile away.
And that's why I'd just to answer questions like, how do you even formulate a beat? How do you even come up and just to pick his mind would be amazing.
Just watch some YouTube videos. You see him in the studio, and he's just sitting there and he's just rolling them up, and he's smoking, and he's just banging out the keyboard, and he's just playing. The guy just plays. He's just throwing stuff out. It's amazing just to watch him work. It's crazy. He must get so zoned out. He starts creating these crazy sounds. It's amazing.
I know, man. I mean,
that guy's a genius.
Yeah, you watched. I mean, that 8 Mile movie with Eminem. I mean, that shit was legit. I mean, dude's writing on napkins and papers on a. I mean, a lyrical genius, man. Lyrical genius. I say it all the time. Unbelievable. Yeah, that would be amazing. If we can make that happen, that would be fantastic.
John, I got a 222.
Triple twos.
Give me the triple twos.
And then you got a 211 here for Rich. So when you're in a 2 rack, you can hook Rich up with a 211. A 1-7 on the undercover cop.
I'd love to ask Scott Storch what happened with Nikki Hilton. He was all tied up in that. Yeah, he was all tied up with Nikki Hilton and the Hilton sisters, and he was all in that.
Man. Where's Paris Hilton go, man? I haven't heard her.
Who knows?
Long time.
One night in Paris.
Yeah.
We got House of Pain.
Ooh.
Yo, is that Shamrocks and Shenanigans?
No. Same as it ever was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't
was big into House of Pain.
So was I. But after the first album, I kind of Shamrocks and Shenanigans was the best. Remember Everlast? The lead singer, Everlast, don't know when he came out. He had that one song. That was it. One hit wonder. Then he went bye-byes.
Been gone.
They used to call me Everlasting College.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. See, we found something new. We got to call John Everlast. So next week, change that John Coker to Everlast.
Mm-hmm. John
All
Everlast.
Right. Then this Coker. This is pushing. West Coast Bad Boys 2. Dedicated to Tupac Machiavelli Shakur. And this is Master P Presents.
Master. That looks like one of those mix CDs, man.
Yeah.
I used to get those Hot 97s. I used to go to the flea market and do like he was selling like gold. Like you'd be that was when sampling was big. He's walking around. You'd be like, yo, you look for a CD, man? Like, yeah, you open up his trench coat. He had like all Hot 97s. Like, yo, here's $5. You get a couple. And you were out, man. It was great. Man, they were the best. They were the absolute best. A lot of Hot 97s for me. Dave, what do you got?
What was Steve Austin's number? 316.
316 said, I just whooped your ass.
That's right. What we got for Steve Austin?
I love Stone Cold. Stone Cold. That was when wrestling was good. Classic album.
What the hell
Tupac.
is it?
Tupac.
There you go.
What's the name of that album, John?
Strictly for my.
Yep. And that's I Get Around is on that album. And that is a great album. Right there.
That was one of the not one of the first I don't know, one of the first CDs though.
Yep.
That I can, you know what I mean, that I can remember just jamming out to over and over.
You know what? Tupac was, and there's a couple guys I remember that had such a unique voice and a unique sound. And I know everybody talks about Biggie, but Biggie was great, one of the GOATs, right? But Tupac was unique. His sound, he was like there was a couple guys. You had Tupac, you had Noriega. So if anybody can go back and listen to some hardcore Capone and Noriega, the War Report, for tremendous album. But Noriega, right? He had that sound in his voice. No, there wasn't Method Man. We talked about Will on his show, had that sound. So Tupac, to me, was the first guy who had that unique sound in his voice. And he could bring it, man. That dude was he brought it. And one thing that people forget is Tupac was a storyteller. He wasn't just a rapper. There's a reason why he came out with that book, the poetry of Tupac, right? The Psalms of Tupac. He had poetry written. This dude was a storyteller, man, and a lot of people forget about that. Everybody talks about justice. Right? Yes, poetic justice. Wow, great move, man. Now you brought up one of my all-time crushes, of Janet Jackson. Woo, man.
Don't get him started.
Don't get me started, man. I got to go to bed soon. But yeah, Janet was one of my faves, man. But that was a great movie. Great movie. Well, again, Capone and Noriega. I don't think that's another group. That's why I cannot wait. We Mike, me and you talked about it. I'd love we a music show must happen, and we're all busy. And I'm not saying weekly, but even we do something monthly, because I'll tell you. And again, this is all four of us, the music knowledge that we can drop, and I'd love to get everybody because there's so many albums that people forget about. Because I was that kid who went to Tower Records every Friday night and went through every single, the Alcoholics, Artifacts, Group Home. I can OC. I mean, I can tell you people that people even forget about because, and then when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, It's My World, I Won't Stop. I mean, songs that people just forget about until they hear. So I was a big Noriega fan. Mike, were you a Nori guy? I was a huge Nori guy.
Somewhat. Nore, that album that came out, I really liked that. I didn't get past that one, but that was really good. Did
you listen to Capone and Noriega though?
A little bit, not as much as I should have, I think.
Yeah, they and again, my buddy Jeff Iattarol, you follow him at Audio Assassin. He does all his own beats. Actually, does a beat for this show. We do a beat, not the cameo in the beginning, but when you listen back, the ending beat, that is his beat. But he brought me him and my boy Eddie, man. Blase, groups that people forget about. Group Home. Living Proof, man. That song is still on my track, on my playlist every single day. You remember that song?
Nope.
You don't remember? So when you get a chance, Group Home, Living Proof. Check that song out. And one of my all-time favorites was Dwick.
Okay. Dwick's a classic, man.
Yes. You listen, Nice and Smooth. Remember Greg Nice? There were some times around slow, some times around quick. Mm-hmm. I mean, that again. These are the things that we have to do, man, because we got to dedicate shows. And I'll tell you what, Mike. I won't get long with it. We got to go, but I will say this: if we can make something happen, even if I can start bringing some independent artists on this show, from all genres of music, and to pick their brains about what their R&B tracks are, whether it be alternative rock, whether it be country. I don't care, whoever it is, just drop some knowledge on us and bring us into the game. I think it would be pretty cool.
Definitely. And just a little fun fact before we go: the Dwick video, believe it or not, it's on YouTube, was filmed on the Atlantic City Boardwalk.
You know what? I was going to ask you that. I was pretty sure that happened.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure it happened.
Yeah, it's actually, just look at it on YouTube. It's so dated. It's from 1992. Yeah.
Al says, what? That's on that Nori album. What?
Yeah, that was the one. That was the album. Nori,
you
right.
hear the helicopter.
General Noriega, we've captured Nori. Yeah. Remember that little shit at the beginning of the song? And then that crazy beat that would come in? Yeah, exactly.
Nori was the cameo guy. Remember, like he did everybody wanted Nori on their tracks, just like everybody wanted Ja Rule. Everybody wanted Ja Rule on their tracks, right? When he came out with, what was that album? Venti. With Holla Holla on it, with Irv Gotti, Murder Inc. I mean, that was when Ja Rule came out, and everybody was all over Ja Rule, and then he just kind of went crazy.
He went crazy, and then he got caught up in that Firefly thing with that concert where they all got sued. He was involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, wait. I'll tell you a really fun story. Remember MTV Cribs? All right, MTV Cribs, right? So do you guys know that Ja got arrested because he broke into somebody's house? And I'm telling you, got to check it out. He broke into somebody's house and act like it was his crib on live TV. And if you go back and you watch it, he's like, you know how they would walk through the house? Yeah. He's going, yeah, that's the bathroom's over. Like, he didn't even know where shit was. It was hilarious. That's and it awesome. Came out that somebody was like, wait, that's my house. They're my cars. And like, he was literally on Cribs in somebody else's joint, man. It's crazy. Crazy. So nobody who would ever do that would happen, right?
I have to check that out.
Yeah, check that out. Google that. It's a real story. It's true. But anyway, man, 2 hours and 20 minutes. This is what happens when we start talking music. That's why we must do a music show. We will get that going. I promise. Remember, 6 days a week. We are at 6 days a week on Heat Ratio Sports. Check us out. We have hockey show going. On Thursdays, Flyer and Ice. We got the debut of the College Flashpoint coming on Friday, where we talk all things college football, basketball, baseball, softball. That's our man Jamar. Will be running that. And it's Dan Green and Vance doing the Thursday Flyer and Ice show. Wednesday, the Fancy Firebox. Tuesday, Heat Ratio Live. Monday, next week, the debut of a golf show. Fairway to Heaven will be hosted by our boy Jason Sullivan and Phil Stiefel. And all we need to go with our Sunday half-court heat with me, Andre, and Al is a Saturday show, and we are complete. We're looking for a baseball guy. If anybody would like to do a baseball show, we will give you the platform, give you the tools, and we are going to be with you 7 days a week. So, as always, Pittsburgh John Coker, Coach Dave Dixon, Mikey Goose, Tony Jigsaw Cancillo at Heat Ratio Sports. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Catch you next week.
Peace.